Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz Bovril podcast, with your hosts Mark and myself Paul. This show is sponsored by Manscaped Grooming for Men. Europe's best football is back this summer for the Euros. Avoid a Maraflani bush in your midfield area. Clean up your midsection with Manscaped, proud sponsor of Celtic Rumours TV podcast. Be a proper lad this tournament and shave your bits with the best grooming leaders in below waist grooming Manscaped. Join over 2 million worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with our code Celtic Rumours TV at manscaped.com. They however changed the grooming game for the Performance Package 3.0 head to toe with this ultimate male hygiene bundle. The Performance Package of Preacher 3.0 comes in with a Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Packer and formulations to round the grooming routine. Bring your boys back to life with this game of full 90 minutes. You probably heard of the Lawnmower 3.0 arc with the best ball trimmer ever committed. This is the best trimmer on the market for those who you need over shaving your testes. The third generation trimmer features cutting-edge ceramic blade, reduced grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. There's even a LED light so you can see everything you're doing in those dark holes. Also included is the Weed Whacker air and nose hair trimmer with its waterproof used 9000 RMP motor, 360 degrees rotary dual blade system. The nose and ear trimmer provides pioneering skin-safe technology that helps prevent nips, snags and tugs in those delicate holes. Look fellas, 99% partners poll admitted that long hair nose is a turn off. Why not get the best proper tools and job for the job here? And don't forget about the liquid formulation to round off the grooming area in Performance Package. The crop cleanser, the body wash to keep your skin feel healthy and fresh. You'll also find Manscaped crop preserver, ball deodorant, anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You'll also find Manscaped crop river, ball toner and testes toner designed to give you the extra boost you need to get the job done on the pitch. Look as clean and well groomed from head to toe of all-time greats David Beckham. Get 20% off free shipping with the code Celtic Rumours TV at manscaped.com. Not only will your balls and wife thank you for it, Manscaped, proud sponsor of Celtic Rumours TV, where the big boys hang out. On today's show, we'll take a look at the usual gossip and rumours around Celtic. We have 4 guests tonight from our forum, Celtic's page, celticrumours.co.uk. We have John, JFP, Barry, Iceman, Michael Dundee, Brian, Welshy Boy, where the lads will have their own topics and we'll discuss their topics throughout the show. Firstly, Mark will give just the usual roundup of shout-outs.
Thanks for that, Paul. There's a link to the Manscaped sites in the description box beneath the video. Just like to give usual shout-outs to Tim Alloy, Malika, and young Ben. Richie's back home, he's out of hospital. So fingers crossed he'll get him sorted out and he can get back on track with his treatment.
Very good.
The charity match, Mikey's going to talk about that when he comes on, but the link to the donation page, that's in the description box below as well. So please again, give what you can and help us out with sharing it on your Twitter, Facebook and things like that. Just on the subject of Mikey, his legs still gouged. He's running about Asda, so that's not going to help it get any quicker.
Mickey got some nicks and ticks, I think, that he's not his grind at all.
Hopefully Mikey's leg doesn't cause him much problems in the future. Well, Paul, just a wee mention for you. For those of you that don't know, Paul had a bit of a major operation in his stomach area a wee while back, a few months ago, and for the last couple of weeks he's having some real serious trouble with the scarring and things like that down there. So he's got an MRI scan on Friday, and just I hope everything turns out well for you, Paul, mate.
Oh, cheers, buddy.
That we all really appreciate all the hard work you do with the planning and helping us produce the podcast and that.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for that.
subs. I think that's brilliant. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. And remember to smash the like button. Thanks very much. Hail, hail.
Of it, we move on to Celtic rumours. Our former Celtic player John Hughes said he was very surprised Lee Griffiths got a new contract at Celtic for next season, claiming his indiscipline, his lack of fitness are major red flag issues for him. Norwich City are waving a £12 million offer for Celtic Christopher. Norwich have been long-term eyes of the Celtic defender for a long time now. Andrew's bringing his Celtic team to the Wales training camp today in preparation for their pre-season, including all Scotland's Euro international players. Edouard has also joined up with the squad. Christopher and long-term want-away casualty Olivia Cham is also among these players. Celtic target Aaron Moy was seen at an airport in China over the weekend waiting for a flight in the UK, and wants to sign his players according to the Mirror, so myself and Mark will keep a look at this closely and keep you all informed. Celtic are rumoured to be looking at Dutch defender left-back Kenneth Pale, who plays for PSV Zwolle, the Dutch league. Pale is reportedly valued at £4 million and is an attacking left wing back who would suit Anne's philosophy of playing football. Celtic target and hope maybe soon to be Celtic bound Mario Valkusic has been left out of Hatcher's match at the pre-season match at the weekend. Rumours stated that he could be on his way to Celtic, but his manager came out today and stated he needed a rest. These are all the rumours and gossip from today, and of course these are all rumours. It was on the podcast over the weekend saying that we missed out on Matt Ryan. Of course, Mark, we weren't linked to Matt Ryan. It was just all the media saying we were linked to Matt Ryan. That's why we're saying this is all rumours. Celtic have never made an approach to Matt Ryan. We're going to be linked with a lot of players with the media, Mark, and until a player signs, Mark, it's all rumours, isn't it?
So it is probably just got to take it with a pinch of salt to actually find out something concrete.
Exactly.
I'll go and add the other three lads in now. Welshy will not be on at about 7 o'clock, but I'll go and get Mikey, Barry and John on, right?
Yep, so I guess tonight are Michael, Barry, John and Welshy. The topics of tonight will be from the lads, so the lads will come up with their own topics. Of course, we'll discuss all these topics as we go along. Who do we have, Mark?
Mikey's there already, so let Mikey go first in that list.
Mike, you go first, actually, just start back anyway, Mikey, get us informed of that.
Alright guys, how's everybody getting on?
Brilliant, thanks for coming on, Mikey.
No problem. Just an update regarding the charity football match. Unfortunately, in the last 2 days, we've had 4 guys pull out, which is a shame. Like I says, we can't really afford to be losing that many people so close. And also, the 28 guys that are left, that also includes me, which I'm basically a write-off, obviously, because of the injury that I've got. That's me. I'm not even able to run for the next 12 weeks. Never mind play a match in nearly 2 weeks now. So we really need to get 6 guys, in my opinion, in pronto for this match. Because if more guys keep pulling out, it's just going to end up ruining the experience for everybody else. Because there's just no way with the guys that are on the list that they're going to be able to last more than 30, 40 minutes each. So we need plenty of subs in that.
Roll on and roll off kind of a thing, Mike, is it?
That was the whole plan, at least get 34. People say, oh, that seems a lot for 11v11, but that's only 7 subs each. And that means that you would still have 4 guys from each team playing a full 90 minutes. You know what I mean? It's not a lot.
Jesus.
The only other thing that we're struggling with as well is I've got 1 set of kits for the match, but I'm at a kind of standstill regarding kits. So if anybody knows anybody that can maybe give a shot of kits, preferably Celtic related, for the day, it would be greatly appreciated. That's really it that I've got to say on that.
Tell them about Celtic, no?
I don't know if I really wanted to bring that up. I was going to speak to you about that, Mark, and if you're happy for it to be said, then that's fine.
I'm happy enough with it, but Mikey, I think it's terrible, so batter in, mate.
What I've been trying to do in the background is I've been trying to contact local, not local, all Premier League football clubs in the hope that each club could have possibly donated a football item from the club, signed or not signed, to try and auction off to raise further money for the NHS at the match or before or after the match. I never really thought about it. It was just a last minute thing. I reached out to all football clubs. I'm still waiting on a lot of replies. But I got a reply from Celtic Football Club categorically saying that they weren't interested in helping out with any items, which I found quite appalling. They also declined Lennoxtown right back at the start of the charity match as well. So that's twice now that I've contacted Celtic with the hope of getting help regarding charity for the NHS, and they've categorically denied both times. I've had a reply from Dundee United, Dundee and St Johnstone. They're hoping to get something sent out in the next few weeks. And I also had a reply from Rangers saying that they are they're overjoyed. They're over.
Read the email out to me. Rangers were more than happy. They were actually, it sounded as if they were quite delighted to be asked for something, if that makes
ridiculous, like, isn't it? Ridiculous,
for considering the cause it's for and what the NHS have did for everybody in the last year, it's the least that they can do. They said that they couldn't guarantee, obviously, a signed shirt because of the COVID stuff and that, but they'll hopefully get something sent out in time to be off the match. So yeah, Rangers have been a delight to deal with. It's just a shame it's just a shame what's happened with Celtic over this whole thing. Like it says, and it wasn't just the refusal; it was the actual email itself. I just came across.
It was awfully curt and kind of, you were wasting your time even getting in touch with us, wasn't it?
Well, I wasn't asking, like you said, if it was signed, not signed, even a shirt from last year, anything just to help raise money. Like I said, I wasn't expecting the world, like it says, but it wasn't even a generic reply that I got, as a few people have hinted that tried to stick up for Celtic at all costs, including people that in my own family. But even my dad and everything, and my dad, he'll defend Celtic to the end, and even he says he's not even buying any kits this year or that, just based on the response to the emails that they got, because it was like you say, the email that came back, it was just a disgusting email. Like it says, there's ways and means to go about like saying yeah, no, and stuff, and just the email that came back, and like it says, people going on Celtic will get loads of replies and they'll be inundated with stuff. Nobody's going to try and insult me, and they can have as much hatred for the other side if they want. That Rangers didn't get contacted 24/7 regarding charitable stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? They still had to write a very respectful email and also promise to hopefully send something out within the 2 weeks before the match.
Would you not go back to Celtic then? Look, our main rivals, like I'm a Celtic supporter and I'm getting a hand here by Rangers.
Yeah, I wouldn't even.
Yeah, at this stage, Mike, I wouldn't even bother. I say, boy.
To be honest, Paul, I'm not interested in that because I didn't want them to donate something just because they heard one of their rivals has done it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why, like I say, even if it was a poster or a mug or anything that another Celtic fan would maybe be interested in purchasing to raise money, would have been great. But it was just the email. Like the email got back regarding Lennoxtown was
exactly,
we're not interested in hosting the charity event. Regarding the signed item, we're not interested in donating anything. That was it.
Ridiculous.
It's shocking, Paul. It was. I mean, I've dealt with Celtic before in the past and get charity things off them, and even as I was saying to Mike, even the last thing, it was, well, a couple of years ago, it was one of my pals was a nurse, and my brother-in-law was his pal. They were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for like the cancer thing, whatever it was. My pal worked in the cancer unit in a hospital in Glasgow, and I even got a signed ball sent up for Man United for that.
Jeez. And then Celtic didn't then. Maybe that's just the way they do stuff, is it?
I get stuff off of Celtic as well, but I can remember as well, because my wee sister-in-law, she was trying to, and I told her, I said, just phone up Celtic or drop them an email. I've got folk that deal with that kind of thing. And they told her to get in touch near the time, and she never heard anything back. And then she got in touch with them and they said, oh, it's too late. And I'm like, no, that's no right, man. I'm not having that. And I actually emailed JP Taylor about it and said to him, and JP's a great guy, he honestly is. And JP took stuff out and I just take it and pick it up. And I said,
Maybe,
well,
may,
JP Taylor about it, but
maybe it's the fella that Michael's doing it like that is a peak.
it's a
Do
real
you know what I mean?
kick in the guts, that kind of thing when I mean, it's a good thing that Mikey's doing here, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's not looking for anything out of himself, and I know for a fact that he's actually out to pocket himself for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
A club that, no, I mean, a club that's like Celtic is meant to be this charitable, and that was it. He also contacted the foundation, he contacted them as well, like a charity, Celtic charity thing, a foundation, and they were just the exact same with him.
Jesus Christ.
Not the way a
Like,
big club like Celtic should be acting, especially the way that they kind of champion their charitable side of things and that.
mm-hmm.
Well, I'd remember something from the charity game because I know a lot of guys will listen to this later and that's all why. There was a problem regarding getting a referee stuff sorted for the match. But thanks to Falkirk Football Club again, who I was in a Zoom call with them about 3 or 4 days ago. They got in touch with the SFA, the Scottish SFA, on behalf of myself, and on the day, Falkirk have helped supply a referee and 2 linesmen, all professional, to help at the event.
Jesus, I just hope Jim Beaton won't show the match. Like, he knows this for but it just shows, like, you know, what Falkirk could do for Mickey here, like, is just unbelievable. Like, and then he has the club where he follows and he goes to their matches and stuff like that, and not even entertaining. It just makes you up sick, really, Mark. Like, don't you know what I mean? Where he's been treated like sick, like.
It does. I mean, it does. It's even if it wasn't Celtic supporters doing that, you would like to think that club supporters trying to get in touch with Celtic when they're trying to do a terrible thing, Celtic would be willing to put a shirt in. Do you get what I mean? Or a signed ball or anything at all. You'd think it would at least entertain that.
It doesn't
matter whether we're Celtic supporters or not. It's still it's still a charity. It's for the NHS.
I think another thing to add as well regarding Falkirk, because Falkirk are well aware of our website and our podcast, so they already know that 90% of the people involved in this event are Celtic orientated. Obviously, a lot of guys supporting St Johnstone, and they just didn't care.
They didn't have a problem with Celtic.
Because that's what they said. It's not. But that's what the guy's words were when he was on the Zoom call. The guy Chris McGill, who's been helping and he's involved with the owners and stuff. That's what he says when it comes to charity. Football doesn't see colours.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what Falkirk. I didn't even say anything to Falkirk regarding donating anything. They got in touch with me right away and says we'll also donate a top signed from the players on the day.
And see if this does become an annual thing, Mikey. And you just remember these folk. You know what I mean? The folk that helped you get it off the ground at the very start. Like, see Falkirk are willing to allow us to do it every year, as we've spoke about. Hopefully, we could maybe do something like that. We'll always do it at Falkirk.
I've already been in talks with Chris regarding this, and he wants to make it an annual. He wants to go do it maybe twice a year.
Oh,
but because he is going to start going to that good a cause, and whether it's the NHS or like that's what he says, whatever charity, like he says that is on the agenda for it. He says he's happy to supply the event once to twice a year for nearly 4 hours. That's what I mean.
You can't argue with that. I mean, you guys been a total gentleman, with you.
Considering like the charity that what it's about is, you know what I mean? It's the NHS, like, you know, what they've been through over the pandemic. Mickey's seen it firsthand with his wife, the pressure they're under. You know what I mean? It's
JFP, are you on?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Aye, I can hear you.
Here's Mark, aye. Yeah.
Barry, you're there as well. Barry.
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
Right, just rabbiting away there, forgetting you two were there. Have you got anything to throw into it, Mikey?
I think it's just probably just going to reinforce my own case. It's massively disappointing to say the least, but the disconnect continues,
That's exactly. Well said, JFP. That is not just.
That's it down to the ground, Mark. Ain't it? Where the club is with the fans, like that. That's just sums it up, like, don't it?
Well, that's the bottom line. I don't think. I mean, it's there's not really much change, guys, since I spoke to you the last time. Apart from, thankfully, Angie's here and Eddie, why isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, you know, we're still not in the stadium. We're still not got ahead of recruitment. We've still got players that went away, and we've still not got the players that we need. And I'm £1,090 worse off. Apart from that, Celtic's behaviour, the club's. I think the club has conducted himself in the recent time. It gets less and less, or harder and harder to defend every time.
We would say that, John. We would say that, like, fair enough. Dominic McKay came in, but the problems are still there. We still have the same board members. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a different day, same. You know what? And the block. I said to you, if you remember with this conversation a while ago, I thought I'm still yet to be convinced that we either have the professionalism or the business acumen, or the will to turn this around, even with Mackay. And I've still got all the same questions that I was sitting here with the last time we spoke a few months back.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mikey's telling you that, you're thinking, you know,
nothing has changed when Mikey's saying stuff like that.
I mean, I'll be honest. There was a period of time. The way I saw it was that Celtic wrote to me the same as they wrote to all the other season ticket holders and said, "Thanks very much for your grand for you and your boy last year.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you didn't get into the stadium, but he's another grand, and we still don't know if you can get into the stadium. That's no Celtic's fault. There's a voucher that you can spend in our shop, and
you won't even get the new Celtic jersey with that voucher at the price of it. And
by the way, it expires in whatever the expiry date is. And just be
there maybe no something out, like a new line or something out the day after, maybe, Jai.
It's just a principle, Mark. I happened to post it onto the, because it was the last day before I've had a season ticket for I don't know how long, more than 35 years. I think I've actually had a season ticket, and I waited to the last day this time, and
going to ask you that, how long you waited.
And I posted on the banter page, and then luckily Campsy boy said, "Did you remember an opt-in, JFP?" I said, "What? Did I remember an opt-in?" So I said to my daughter, I said, "Go and see what the opt-in is. You have to opt-in to say you want to come. So not only saying no Celtic. I thought getting you a grand for nothing was that good.
Exactly.
I thought we'd do it again this year. Get half it. You know, you think you could even have made it you to opt out. You know, if you weren't comfortable going back into a stadium when that time comes, hopefully sooner rather than later. But the way they're going about themselves, but the word I said, the disconnect. And you hear Mikey speaking there. So right up to the last day, there was a bit of me for the first time in 35 years and longer than that watching Celtic. I thought that Albion Rovers were a better shout for my money. And in fact, if it hadn't been for if the other mob hadn't behaved the way they've behaved recently and been louder and prouder than they've been seen for many a year, and
how long have you seen this disconnect? Like being a season ticket for so long, John. Like, how long did you see this disconnect evolving? Is it from Peter Lawrence there, or has it kind of been before that, or have Celtic always kind of been this way?
No, I would say if you give me back to the Kelly's time, it was. I don't know. There just seems to be something. There's
kind of more forward this year, like, hasn't it?
It's always been like that. I have to say,
right. You know,
Fergus. Everybody, I'm not right. We all bam up Fergus. He was a great guy. What he done for the club, but he wasn't a rich man. Do you go? And the things at the time that the Celtic fans weren't happy with.
They've definitely. They always had that wee bit of attitude that we'll just turn up and they know that. They know,
exactly,
they know
that's it. You see, yeah, they know the fans will buy the season tickets anyway, John.
100%. Because I mean, it's, when you're sitting at the end of the day, it's your team, and irrespective of who's run it. I wasn't particularly happy when the Kellys ran it. I think there's always been maybe a wee gap at them and us. Probably right. But at the end of the day, it's your team, it's your club. It's Cardinal Marcinkus said about the church. You can't run the church in Hail Marys. Celtic needs money. It's a business. I understand that. I work for myself. I know, and it's got to run as a business as well. But see, sometimes you just think you're having a laugh here, Celtic. And then when Mikey tells you something like that, you really start to think to yourself, "Come on!"
Especially when you see like the amount of bashing we give Rangers on the podcast, Mark, and the bashing Celtic fans give them. And it's true what Falcon said, like, there should be no colours in charity. Do you know what I mean? There should be no colours. Like, they just showed that to Mikey there. Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
exactly. I mean, let's not be kidding. Even imagine getting an email from Michael Conroy. Do you get what his name's telling you right away? He's a Celtic supporter or a Tim or whatever. And it's Rangers have just. The first email he said, he told me, I was on the call to him the other day about it, and I didn't really say, Mikey didn't really want to say on the forum in case it just brought a lot of negativity on it, but he says it was the very first email he got back for Rangers, was like, well, just what's your address? That was basically the email he got off them. What's their address, and we'll get something sorted out for you.
Mark, if you can't get money out of Celtic, you all people, for the NHS this year of all years,
exactly, we're not going to get it.
I mean, Mikey should be writing he should be getting a letter to Celtic with 50,000 signatures on it saying, "What's the script here, Celtic?" Shocking.
Well, we're talking to you, John. What's your take on this, like the Celtic Trust and the planned demonstration stuff and things like that? You're more the businessman, you know what I mean? How do you think that?
I mean, I've not even been that close to it just now.
One of the things they wanted was see like this added value for the season tickets. Shares. They wanted shares. And well, as a businessman, could you ever see that happening?
I don't really understand. I don't understand the mechanics of how it works in a football sense enough to be able to comment on it. And then to be honest, Matt, I don't really know.
If Celtic turned that down, they've just kind of spat the dummy out.
So what's Celtic Trust done now? What's the script with that? I know that they wanted they were
the North Curve. So many fan groups have all got together, and they're planning I don't even know if it's called a protest, a demonstration outside the stadium at the first friendly, the first home game. But they'll be there to cheer the team on, but there to demonstrate against the board.
What's the demonstration then? Is it just?
No, and they want the fans to boycott merchandise. And it goes on, and then the Celtic, this group of supporters, groups, whatever you want to call them, they'll review the situation in 6 months and see if Celtic are doing the job, running the club to their standards, and then they'll tell you if it's all right for you to start buying stuff in that again.
I mean, I've always been reluctant. I mean, even as I said, I would certainly never encourage anybody not to buy a season ticket or not to buy merchandise or whatever. I mean, Celtic fundamentally it's a business, and it doesn't run in Hail Marys. It doesn't run in fresh air. It needs money to survive. And if that's irrespective of who's in charge, you're not supporting them. You're supporting the team,
the club.
Exactly. On a scale of nothing to 10, there's the Celtic board and me have probably got about a 7 in terms of a disconnect. But my disconnect with the behaviour at George Square twice was bigger. And they're my club. They're my club. And nothing's going to change that. That's your team. And I can't see that. No spending my money, no renewing my ticket. And I would respect everybody's right to follow their own conscience in that respect, or follow their own mind. But I can't see how damaging the club financially helps the cause in any way.
Exactly, right.
Demonstration, that's not going to help new
What would
players, the new manager and things like that settle in.
exactly right? I think for me, as I say, I'm quite happy. Big Angie's here. I think he's obviously been second
You were
choice.
never an Eddie Howe fan anyway.
Oh no.
John, I know that for a fact you weren't.
Even though Angie's been he's undoubtedly been I think he's been second choice. If Eddie House has been the first choice of all the stories that he'd believe. But even if you'd offered me Angie, or he's obviously been on the radar. They've not picked him out of a hat.
Mm-hmm.
He's either he's been on the radar. If you'd have said to me even 3 months ago, who do you want, Eddie Hoy or Eddie Hoy or Angie, I'd have taken Angie.
Once you went in and looked out behind the Angie and that, I said it right. I'd have
Mickey was the same.
Easily.
See, at the end of the day, it's either an inspired appointment or it could be a Kixina moment. I don't know.
But you know,
time will tell.
The last, I wouldn't say downfall, when the dominance of Rangers, remember Dave Rangers were going for the 9-0 and Phil Jansen came in. Was there protest by the fans back then as well, or is it just because Celtic lost a 10 in a row? And just is all this mainly popping up because we lost a 10 in a row?
No, I remember being there. I remember being at Celtic Park on Wednesday. I missed the foggy Wednesday night playing St Mirren with 11,000 there, and it was at the time back there. You remember this, Mark? Sack the board back the team.
Your team, aye.
So it's just a reincarnation of that again, isn't it? It's I think I can understand people's frustration at the club, undoubtedly. But difficult times for everybody. And as I say, I can't see how effectively withholding funds for them is going to help the cause in any way. But in saying that, I understand that people get the right to protest. I'd like to know what they were protesting about. Is it the way it was run? There's no doubt about it. When you see how, just in my travels recently, I'm just full. I've never seen as many Rangers taps in my life, and I've never seen them louder and prouder. I'm telling you.
Find one that you can win if you want, John.
Do you know why that is, John?
I'll pass that.
Because
I'll pass that one.
Rangers now have plenty of structure in their club, and it's working. And Celtic at the moment, not just from the first team, because Andrew's there and I'm not going to bring in the first team, but from board level, Celtic seem they don't have no structure in how the club is running the day-to-day business. And Dominic Mackay has a big job, I think, and it's going to take at least 3 or 4 years for him to really get grips on modernising the board in Celtic.
I remember somebody asked, I think the last time Mark and I think the two years maybe changed their mind now, was how big a rebuild was needed, how big was the gap, could we turn it round about in a season? And I said yes. I think Mark said yes. I'm not convinced. I think that anymore. And as I say, my biggest concern isn't the fact that we've only got 12 players or whatever we've got, and we're short all over the park for
exactly
goalkeeper, left back, midfield, left wing. Where do you want to start here?
And especially when he said that there's like we're always talking about the youth, but you don't want your first team either filled with youth players, John. Do you know what I mean?
Paul, I still think, in terms of the protests, I still think that my fear is that we'll still get questions at a higher level than that.
Mm-hmm.
That there's still a disconnect at a higher level than that. That there's still issues at a higher level than that.
That's no doubt, Mark, because we were saying that, Mark, for ages with Mikey and Barry, like the same people are still there. Well, do you know what I mean? Just because Peter Law left, like Mark, they're still there.
I'm going to say, just before we came on live here, Paul, I was having a look at Twitter and somebody put up that it's still showing on that Company's House website, I think that Peter Law's still active.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, his directorship, is it the SFA or the SFPL, whatever one that is, that's still active as well.
And you said you have to be linked with a club, don't you?
The ECA, the European Association thing he's involved in, I'm sure you do as well, sir. I don't know.
Barry, do you want to comment on maybe what JFA is saying? Barry.
With regards to what, mate?
what John was kind of saying there, like the disconnect, like it's still there, like, and it's kind of hasn't really gone away, has it? Even considering now with Mikey's thing here, like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just to echo what Mikey, John, and both of you guys have said, it's hugely disappointing. It really is. We spoke about it previously. You know, the NHS, everyone to a man has had some support from the NHS or had to rely on support from the NHS, whether it be during the pandemic, whether it be other ailments that we've had. So right across the board, if this is a brand whereby everybody should be supporting it. So to get that back is really, really disappointing. However, not overly surprising, given what we've just been speaking about. I mean, I can't disagree with anything that John's just said there. I mean, the disengagement with the fans, it's not new. This is something that's gone on for as long as I can remember.
Jesus.
I think the difference is now, like, for the last 9 years, Celtic have won everything. You know,
and it's kind of quieting down a bit then. As, you know, it was kind of a blanket over the troubles that's there, Barry, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've won 9 titles in a row. We've been part of a quadruple treble. We're all waxed lyrical about it. It was an incredible achievement. But because we've been doing that and been dominating, the fans are more accepting of the discontent, because basically what we're interested in as Celtic supporters, we're interested in what's happening on that park.
Exactly.
As long as they're producing results, everything else kind of falls by the wayside. Well, last season, the disaster that it was, losing the league by 25 points, not getting a trophy, and just the manner in which everything went about last season, it's brought it to the forefront. So I mean, the disengagement, guys, it's not going to go away. It really isn't, in my opinion. I've, you know, there's a good pal of mine that I'm in contact with daily, and he's like all of us. He lives and breathes the football club, and he was talking about the demonstration by the Trust and the Green Brigade and what have you. And I kind of said to him, I said, look, that's not going to. The board aren't going to give a monkeys if you've got 50,000, 60,000 supporters in a stadium booing the board or putting up banners. They've got what they want, and that's the season ticket money. We're customers to the board. Like, I've never hid away from the fact that my discontent to the board. You know, I've never shied away from that. I've always maintained that. Like, if Celtic go on and win the treble,
I remember yourself, Barry, coming on the time Eddie Howdy broke through, and we came on that Friday with yourselves, and I've never saw you so angry or thing so much at the board. You know, you were really like, this board has to be sacked. Like, you know, it's ridiculous.
The thing is that I'll never change my. Listen, it's all about opinions, guys. I'll never change my opinion. Like I say, we can go on and dominate the league this year. We can win the league. We can win the treble. As far as I'm concerned, I've said it before. We'll never move forward as a football club under the current regime. We'll never realise or maximise our potential whilst this board is in place, because I honestly believe that we are treated as a number. There's no engagement there. There's no sort of relationship between the board and the fans. All the board want, all the football club want, is to get the money. Like JFP's just said there, they've taken £1,000 off him. Yeah, he has to select if he wants to go to a game. Like, it defies belief that's actually.
That's just should be a straight answer. Like, should you want to go to the match?
For your season ticket money, but you need to let us know if you want to come along to the game or not. I mean, I don't even want to bear thinking about. Exactly. But I said to my mate, I said, look, you know, the way that, hypothetically, because it's never going to happen, the Celtic supporters are one of the most loyal in world football. You know, they love the club, they're loyal to the club, and there we go. Look at last season, the disaster that happened, and you've still got over 50,000 people renewing, with probably 10 to 15,000 on a waiting list. The Celtic board are very well aware of this. So the way you cut them off at the airway, and it is a boycott. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying I agree with it. But the way you overhaul a board is to don't renew your season tickets and do it in numbers. You know, like I said, I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying this is the way forward. But if you want to remove this board, that's what you've got to do. However, the Celtic Trust and the North Corv and the Green Brigade, this protest, it's not going to have any sort of impact at all. It's just a minor part. It's a very minor part of a fan group that are not unhappy. I'd imagine the whole lot are unhappy, but they want to do something about it. But this is just a drop in the ocean to the board. Like I said, they're not going to care if there's boos and banners and protests outside. They've got what they want, and that's 50,000 or 55,000 season ticket renewals. They'll probably have a record number of strip sales with the 3 kits that are going to be coming out in the next sort of weeks and months. I know 2 of them are already out or what have you. That's what the Celtic board need. It's money. They're a business, like John says, that we're a business, and it's never been more apparent now that that's exactly the relationship is. It's a business and a customer. It's not a football club.
But can we see some change maybe with Dominic McKay coming in, like starting off the fans media? I think was a big step. Bringing in lads from podcast media to get interviewed and stuff like that. And a lot of media and question that. Is that a step that Dominic McKay wants more engagement with the fans, Barry?
He said that was one of the areas that he wanted to focus on. He wanted to focus on football operations, engagement with the fans, commercial. He says basically the whole overhaul of the football club, but he did mention engagement on a number of occasions. He started off well, with the fans, media conference. That's a first step, but I mean it's a minor step in what's going to be a huge part of his job. Like you said earlier, Paul, okay, Dominic McKay is in. He's going to have to do things differently from what Peter Lawwell did, but the other guys are still there.
That's my problem. That's the problem. And they're so used to doing things the way Peter Lawwell did and the way he did business. I think Dominic McKay has a bigger job in his hands than what people think. Do you know what I mean?
Paul. I was thinking you were talking about is this being historic, and Barry's spot on with everything he said. They're absolutely 100% spot on. The one thing it did when he said there, that as long as we're getting results in the park, that's
exactly
that's enough. That's not enough. Celtic's a social institution. Celtic, there's a whether you think football, politics should all be. There should be any aspect to that. Celtic's more than a football club. Celtic is a social institution. And the story that Mikey told at the start of the podcast there about the email he got regarding the NHS, and it's salt in the winds, the one that he got for Ibrox by comparison. But it was almost as if the problem I've got now is I don't really know what the problem is. It was when you had the Kellys in charge. Football was increasingly becoming a business. And there obviously just wasn't the business acumen there, and they needed a Fergus McCann. I've worked in companies when you see a company developing to a stage where it's just too big for the guys that own it, and sometimes it's a family that owns it, and they don't realise that actually it's too big for them. They need the professionalism, they need the expertise coming in from outside, and actually it takes a bright man to say, this is too big for me now. I need somebody else to take this to the next level. Now, we've obviously had this. I don't know what is the problem with the guys that's here. Did they know have the business acumen? Did they know? Your man Dermot's he's got 50. He's only what's he get 51% or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What's everybody else got? Is it the Kellys? It was easy to figure it. It was self-preservation, vested interest. My boy, and you're no playing. That was what's the problem there just now? You would need to get to the bottom of what's the problem. But there is Barry's right. It's got business written all over it now. As I say, one of the reasons that Albion Rovers crossed my mind because I'm thinking this disconnect here is to such an extent. I don't know if the club that I grew up with is exists anymore. I don't know if the team that Peter, I saw Paul McStay and Peter Grant and Tommy Burns and Boyd and Danny McGrain,
all homebred players, weren't they?
Jimmy Johnson and I don't know if that club exists anymore. That's a sad thing for me to say. I don't know if it's there. So I mean, in my decision to renew my ticket, I would well respect him to Disney, and I think Barry's kind of right. The only one thing a businessman understands is when he's not getting greenbacks in. That's the excuse the pun. That's the bottom line. The only way you can you'll get Celtic to listen to you is if, and the powers that be listening is if you start from the oxygen. No doubt about that. But the question is that the
good thing there, what you're saying, is a business, and we were talking about shareholders, myself and Mark Dermot and Priest, and the second shareholder in Celtic is Linsdale Tidal, and they recently bought loads of shares. there a couple of weeks back, Mark. They bought more shares, Mark. They invested in more shares. Mark?
Lindsay Train, is it?
Yeah, they invested in more shares. I think
they've invested in teams all over the world, Paul.
Yeah, but that just shows like how a business.
I don't think
How
I don't think they've got any intentions of taking any kind
no,
of control over the club, but
they see a profit. Like that's basically what the lads are saying. Like, isn't it just a profit? Like, it just shows that
if they're just an investment company, if their investors aren't getting a return on their money, they'll eventually pull out of that.
Exactly. They see their main reason to be behind is that they can see Celtic moving down south in some decade or something like that, and that's why they're keeping their shares. They're either if Celtic move to a European League, Mark, or something like that. That's what they see, like, don't they?
They can see the potential if any of these super leagues go ahead and Celtic are involved in anything like that. They can see the potential, and there'll come a time where the Celtic brand, well, in the football world, will be, I mean, it's worldwide now, but the business side of the football, Celtic will become a big player in that, and they've just had the foresight to see that. Whether it's a super league going forward or it is like a UK league maybe even, but I think they're in it for the long haul. I don't think they take much to do with that show.
I mean, Mark, am I alone here? Am I just Johnny Negative here? That is the same as I was 2 or 3 months ago. He having a serious question mark.
You're right. Like, but still, like what myself and Barry Mark were saying, nothing has still changed. We still don't have a chief in recruitment. We still don't have a director of football. We need players, and we need players badly.
Paul, that's what. When I was sitting there the night thinking about coming on, I thought, no really got much to say. There's no a lot happened really much different if I spoke to you last. Still not in the stadium, still not got ahead of recruitment. We've got Mackay in, fair plays, Angie's there now. We still get players that went away, by all accounts.
And they're still there.
Still no get players that we do need. I say to you, other than being a grand habit by worse off, there's no really... I honestly think to change the tone a wee bit in terms of Eddie. I don't make whether Celtic had all their eggs in the one basket there or not, or whether Eddie Howe's let them down at the last minute. Irrespective of it, I think we've dodged a bullet there massively.
Considering now that not even a team down the Premier League, John, is approaching him. Do you know?
Oh, no. I just couldn't see the attraction, Paul, at the time. I just couldn't. I couldn't see. I couldn't see what.
I think he was the cheap option. He was a free transfer, and that's basically it, John. I think he was there for free, wasn't he?
There's people going on about like as if Eddie Howe the next Guardiola.
Exactly right.
But Mark, when you come to think of it, like, he was the cheap option because he was free. He was attached to the club.
That as well.
Yeah,
But I agree with John there. I was never really that keen on him. If it had been Eddie Howe, I'd have supported him. But I'm more excited with Ange coming in.
So I think you're right. I could see he's getting pumped 5-0 in Europe or something like that, but 5-4 or something, by all accounts, he looks to me as if he's his own man. The wee video he's posted last week about I was away, but I saw it when I'm training. He doesn't look as if he's a man. He doesn't look like a man to me. It's frightening to tell you where he's at. The end of his first week, he knew all the players' names, which is that's massive for me. He's got a reputation for playing attacking football. He played with South Melbourne, who were an immigrant club for Greeks. So I'm sure that the Celtic parallel will not be lost on him there. I certainly think he'd be a damn sight nearer getting what Celtic are about, or what the fans are about, rather, than Eddie Howe ever would be. I don't think there could be a bigger. Bournemouth, there's a million. It's a million miles from Bournemouth to Glasgow. A blue rings Tory black backwater. Eddie Howe had no idea what he was coming to. No.
I think he bottled it in the end. Like,
people now. Like taxi drivers and that, when I've been talking to them and that, I can say that now. It's a blue rinse Tory Blackwater. Aye.
So Barry, true what he's saying. Like, Barry, I think, like, we did expect kind of more players really to come in before pre-season, didn't we?
Well, you know something, when you guys sent out the schedule for and you talked about topics, one of the topics I was going to bring up tonight, I still don't know, was going to be how sort of slow we are to recruit players year on year. I mean, this is something we've spoke about many times on the podcast over the last 3 months, 4 months, however long it's been running, is the massive summer rebuild. Well, here we are sitting on the 5th of July, and the only movement we've had in the transfer market is 2 Bosman signings from Sheffield Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And the contract extension for Griffiths. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Griffiths was already at the club, Paul, so I'm talking about the guys that we need to bring in to strengthen the squad. And I just and this isn't just something this summer, this is something every year we get. And Big Ange, I'm not going to downplay him. He said, there's a lot of hard work going on in the background. We hear this every year. It was Neil Lennon's favourite saying last season, even his first 10, there's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes. Why are we not delivering players? I just don't understand it. This list of players, listen, I understand the way transfers work. Sometimes you don't always get the players you want, but there should always be backups. But like I say, here we are. We're now, 2 weeks away? Is it 2 weeks away from the Midtjylland game? And we've only brought in...
And especially when we were saying as well, Barry, like that, the want-to-wear players, like the significance of not having them at training. Encham clearly states that he wants to be away. He's trying to push a deal himself to AK Athens. Oyer wants away, and Edward wants away. And there's the 3 lads coming off a plane today, down in pre-season training.
But we're down to the bare bones. But you look at the players we've actually lost. If you go through them one by one, you're looking at, John Joe Kenny's away. Frimpong we've lost in the January.
Away.
El Hamed, Laxell, Duffy, El Yunusi, Brown. They're all players that were starting for us. They were all, it wasn't like they were just squad players. And now to add what John was saying, you've still got the guys that want away. You're in Chams, your Christies, your Ayers, your Edwards. They're still here. I'm sure they will move on before this window, and I'm sure we will sign players. I'm no doubt.
Exactly. Barry, you could see we've not got heavy recruitment, and you can see that the difficulties bringing players in, but there should be it shouldn't be difficult to start with. First thing in my list would have been, right, who does he want to be here? Who does he want to be here? And that you've already rhymed off that list. Well, punt them. Get them away to wherever they need to go to. They're all decent players. You'll not be short of buyers. That's there's no difficulty surrounding that in terms of getting these guys out the door. You look at the size of the rebuild. We've got Bain and Barkas and Hazard. They're your goalkeeper options. Taylor at left back. We've no right back. I know you're looking at that.
Actually, that Hazard might be going to Dundee. Did you read that, Mark? Yeah.
I think they're looking at
just in loan, but is it no?
Yeah, just in loan, yeah. But then there's 2 keepers there. Clearly, we need another keeper as well. They're obviously
a big question mark with Taylor, because I see there's a lot of left backs getting messed about. Josh Doig. I think Hickey can play right back as well, but he can play in the 2. But so he would be a good shooter. I mean, I like Taylor, and I know I get slaughtered for that in the banner page the other week there again as well. I'm still going back to the Rangers game. Taylor plays and Laxalt doesn't play that day.
Exactly.
Button doesn't get a red card and we don't get into 10 men. But I mean, the lack of when we were playing football there, I like to see Lewis Ferguson there, whose family's always been there's an association there with Rangers. Probably over the last 10 years, that lad would have came to Celtic before he would have been to Rangers. I bet he'd make the opposite decision now. Mm-hmm. You've got Ali McCann, McCarthy. Look at the players. Nelly Nussi, I take it. Is he? What's the story behind him? Is he away?
He's going to some Spartak Moscow. I think someone is interested there, Mark. I think in this.
A few teams interested in him, but post it yourself that he'll no be back. So that's dead in the water, John.
See, this is the thing that I was trying to refer to as well, John. And Mark, you mentioned that it was a good update. Actually, you mentioned it on the forum. You talked about Celtic are asking the clubs to keep informed of what the situation is with Ali McCann and Lewis Ferguson. See if you identify a player that you believe is going to enhance your squad, going to make your team better. Why are you asking to be connected? Why are you not going and placing a bid on the table and bringing them into football?
I don't know.
This is what I just don't understand.
It's a thing in football, and actually over the years we talked to like 2 people like that. that if clubs can they register an interest in players, and that just means if he becomes available, you have to let us know and things like that. It's weird that stuff like
Yeah, I don't. And it's like everything you read. It's like the Kevin Nisbet. Celtic are keeping a close eye on the situation.
Yes.
For me, with where we are at the minute with our football squad, why are we not just going out and saying to Hibs, if it's Nisbet you're wanting, there's 3.5 million. Wally McCann,
Yeah.
1 million pounds. Come on.
we know pushing it rather than. I mean, obviously these other teams that are interested have probably said the same thing, like Hibs and St Johnstone and that. Keep us informed. We've registered our interest basically.
You can see the whole John McGinn thing's happened again, can't you?
Kind of waiting to see who blink first idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's it.
They want to go in and say bid 4 million for that Nisbet. If people think England's going to only come in and bid 2.5 million. I don't know if it goes to that kind of level. They keep you informed that so and so's bid X amount. Are you willing to top that? I don't know if it actually goes to that level. So really, I mean, it could just all be lies as well. A chairman could just phone up Celtic and say, "Oh, we've had a 2.5 million bid for Charlie for Ali McCann. Are you interested in trying to beat that?"
Do you think that's what's going on, Mark? Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that.
Yeah.
That's how.
I don't know why. I don't know why they don't look at it when. I don't know why there's somebody there looking effectively saying, "You what's it?" Celtic can make their mind up. When you're buying something, you need to make your mind up what something's worth to you. What somebody else is willing to pay for it's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. It's when I go and buy something, I don't know how many people have said, "Well, it's not worth that to me." And somebody says, "Oh, whether it's a car or a house or whatever it's been."
Make your move, did you?
My car's worth that or my house worth that. I said, "You're not listening to what I'm saying." I said, "It's no worth that to me." Right. So if Celtic want Aaron Hickey, if Celtic want Ali McCann, if Celtic want Lewis Ferguson, absolute no-brainer. And I'm not a football manager. There's obviously serious question marks over Taylor. There's about 3 left backs that I've seen that they're looking at that. Is that Kenny Powell, Doig, Hickey?
Mm-hmm. Maybe he's not. Would he be?
So why does the powers that be just say he's worth? If we end up paying 5 for him and it's $1 million more than we could have paid for it, so what?
They're Klamala, Paul's pal. Apparently, we bought him for 3.5 million to get our money back. So why Celtic no sitting saying, well, right, that young Nisbet, right, £4 million, he's a Celtic player. He's going to do a job for Celtic for the next 10 years if we want him to. We know that he'll score goals in Scotland, but if he improves, he'll move to England and we'll make a profit on him.
Mm-hmm.
You look at. I mean, you don't know the reason. He probably that. I'm not convinced. I don't know whether we dragged their heels or Hibs just didn't want to sell him to us or whatever. A combination of both, and the guy ends up going somewhere else, or he just didn't want to come to Celtic. Your man that played for Scotland the other week, what do you call him? McGann. You know, it break your heart watching him.
Yeah.
He'd have looked good in the Hibs. He'd have looked good beside Turnbull in the Hibs. You know.
Is there something now, Mark, between?
As well?
Was there something as well between the two chairmen as well, between Peter Lawler and the Hibs chairman over that as well, wasn't there?
Well, Rod Petty. Is it Rod Petty was called? Never got on. I don't. Even for what I've heard behind the scenes, even like at a personal level, they never kind of twigged together personality-wise and things like that. But
why did you want to come in there?
It still comes down to the business side of things, and I said at the time, and for what I've heard, no change my mind. Lowell thought that John McGinn would have waited out and signed for Celtic on probably a free transfer, and it was just never going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So, why did you want to come in on what we're talking about there?
Fell asleep, Mikey.
No, what it is I don't know. I put together a transfer list for me personally that are realistic and transfer fees that have been mentioned and players going out and stuff. I don't know if you want to say that for a different part of the podcast. Or...
Yeah, we move on there. So we're going to what we do there. So we're just going to go to Barry there. We just come to Barry. Yeah, we just go to Barry. What Barry wants to bring up. Barry, you there?
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Just bring up there what you want to come up.
Well, that was my point. it was it was the sort of lack of movement, and like I said, it's not just this year. It seems to be season on season. We never sort of prepare. When we've always got European qualifiers, we've always got them early doors, but we never seem to give ourselves an opportunity. Now, listen, I'm not making any excuses. The teams that we've ended up going out to, the squads that we've had there and then should have been good enough to beat them. But it seems to be season on season, rather than preparing for these eventualities, rather than getting a squad together. I mean, I look at other clubs just now. I think, look at other clubs in the SPL. Aberdeen, I think they brought in 6 players before pre-season. I think they brought in another 2 since. 8 boys. They realised their squad was needing a massive overhaul, and they've went and done the business. You look at the Dundee clubs; they've all went and strengthened. Every club just
and they're going to pre-season now, Barry, with their clubs intact.
Well, I said on a podcast before pre-season was even in the equation for Celtic that now's the time to go and get the players. It's always great to get them in for the first day of pre-season. To give them that the intensity that Big Andrew's working at, but it also gives them that bedding in time. But for me, like I say, the subject I was want to talk about is season upon season. We always seem to leave our business to very late in the transfer window. We're always a wee bit reactive rather than preparing a squad, getting your transfers together, getting your bodies in early, getting the signings that you want to make in early. Now, we've mentioned names before, like if you look at Ali McCann, according to reports, whether it be true or not, St John's are wanting £1 million for him.
Exactly.
See, for me, I'd be running the bank, get the cash. I'd take cash out for that and go to Perth myself and hand it to Ali because he's a cracking player. If you're going to get him for £1 million, it's a no-brainer. Same with what the guys have said. Kevin Nisbet, if you put, I don't know, say $3.5 million, the money you got for Klamala, if you put that on the table to Hibs, they're not going to. I very much doubt they'll reject that. Or if they do, it's going to be very close to what they're going to get for Kevin Nisbet. We're in the middle of a pandemic. All clubs are struggling, needing money. There's deals to be done there, and see the players we've been linked with. I've actually been relatively impressed with from the Vuskovic to McCann to Hickey to Nisbet. I like the thought of those players in Celtic strips. I really do. But what I'm finding a bit frustrating is just how long it's taken, if it is indeed true, for us to get business done season after season. That was the point I was wanting to make. How long it takes us to get transfers over the line.
£1 million for Phil McCann. So what are you going to save? Half of that? What does it matter? We're in a position here where we're needing players quick, so you end up sometimes, and other clubs will know that as well. If it's $1 million or $500,000 or $2 million, does it matter if they take in 50 million season tickets?
Exactly, mate. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I don't understand, John. I don't understand because, like I say, it's not just this year. You look at if you go back. It's always
kind of wait, see how we progress in the Champions League before we kind of buy players, Barry.
Absolutely, and I'll take you back to a good few years ago. We lost, I can't remember it was how many windows. It was on the course, I think 2 windows. We lost Gary Hooper, Victor Wanyama, Fraser Foster, and Kelvin Wilson, who was probably a wee bit lesser of an important part of our squad at the time. But it was pretty much the spine of our team, I think, over 2 or 3 windows that we didn't really replace. Now, we went into the Champions League qualifiers pretty much understand. We didn't recruit any players for it, and we came up against Shakhtar Karaganda from Kazakhstan, and we scraped through 3-2. And I thought, well, now the checkbook's going to come open now, because they were linked with some right good players at the time. They were linked with the guy Alfred Finnbogason from Heerenveen to come in and replace Gary Hooper. They were linked with Aaron Johansson from Alkmaar. These were right good pedigree.
I remember that, yeah.
But it never ever materialised. I think we ended up with Timu Pukki and 3 failed bids for Lee Tomlin of Peterborough. That was the most of our transfer business.
And that's why it's fair as well. Again, this year, Barry, like that, the same thing might happen again. We're going to miss out on our transfer targets again, and we're going to end up buying the second or third option players who won't be good enough to come in and improve our squad again. We'll end up going back to the same old stuff again.
Well, it could very well be, Paul. We don't know. But like I say, I've been relatively impressed with the actual players that have been linked, if indeed it is true, and that are on the list of players. But for me, the frustrating thing is, like I say, it's season upon season. We're just dragging our heels, and we've got an opportunity to go to Michelin. It's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about it.
I think they're going to fancy their chances against this Celtic team, without doubt.
Of course they would. I mean, listen, there's no doubt about it. Everybody that was in the non-seeded part of that draw would have wanted Celtic. There's no doubt about that. I'm not under no illusions. But if we'd have brought in 2 or 3 players, maybe 3 or 4, to give ourselves an opportunity to go and, because in my opinion, I've said it before on the podcast previously, if we can negotiate this tie, we're guaranteed Europa League football. I'm
Exactly.
happy with that. It's going to be very, very difficult for us to get Champions League football this year. That's not our level just now anyway, in terms of where our team is at.
Mark, where's the
we can get
deadline?
Europa League level, absolutely.
The deadline to register players too, Mark, is coming up as well, isn't it?
Oh, is it the 15th? I think it's the 15th, Paul, that the squad needs to...
Yeah. You know, like, it is a depleted squad, like.
Depends.
It's not.
They'll have to isolate as well.
It's not as if it's not as if we should be panicking. Yeah, we're only needing a goalkeeper, 2 centre halves, a right back, a left back, a midfielder, a left wing, and 2 strikers. After that,
Shoot it in. Dom's on the case, John.
And Dom's on the case, and we're sitting here with a fortnight to go, scratching our navel.
But that's going back to the point there, like, Barry, what you were saying there, like Celtic always seem to do their business kind of late after, and that's going back to my point as well as saying the same board members are there. Could that maybe have the effect here that maybe McCoy doesn't have a handle or maybe the grip that he wants to, yes, at the club? That he's still getting the grip set, and this is where we did these board members
That's
this is where we do it.
That's to be the model.
Yeah.
Paul. You know, we don't go in and get our business done early, and you know, I'm envious of the clubs. You know, when I see Aberdeen have made 8 signings,
Exactly.
you know, that for me that's a club that recognises where they are as a squad and what they need to do to enhance their squad, and they go out and get the business done. Now, listen, we're not shopping in the same markets. I get that. But
Exactly.
I just find as a Celtic support, I find it very frustrating that year on year we seem to be reactive in the transfer market rather than proactive. We don't give ourselves an opportunity to progress in Europe because we don't enhance the squad the way it should be enhanced. Now, we spoke long before this season finished, last season finished, we spoke long before about the massive summer rebuild. And like I say, here we are on the 5th of July, and we've brought in 2 Bosmans from... I'm not dissing these players, by the way, but 2 19-year-old guys from Sheffield Wednesday. You know, how much of an impact are they going to make? I don't know. But it's just, for me, it's not good enough in terms of how many players we should have in at this stage, where we're less or 2 weeks away from an important Champions League qualifier. But like I say, I mean, to get the guys' views, you know, why do we always do this? Why do we always sort of leave it late? Why do we always never strengthen our squad at the start of a transfer window? It's always towards the end of a transfer window when you're 3 or 4, maybe 5 weeks into a season starting before we actually go and make some signings.
I think I know there's a lot of people weren't up for Griffiths re-signing, and again I get slaughtered as well when I said I'd have punted Eddie after the last Rangers game. I think Griffiths was worth an extension, and rightly people said they both deserved to be sold, and I think that's right. They both did deserve to be sold, but Griffiths I think is worth keeping for in a few different fronts. One, for all you would get to him relative to Eddie. There's money in Eddie, there's no money in Griffiths. And when Eddie goes, he's going somewhere else. He's not going in Scotland. When Griffiths goes somewhere else in Scotland, he's going to bang that ball back into your net 20 times, potentially. Yeah. So there's reasons why I think there was as a backup striker, Griffiths wasn't a bad shoot if he can hopefully sort
himself out. Like, everyone kind of wants Griffiths to prove us wrong, but the only one who can do that himself is himself, John, you know.
I think what'll be interesting, Barry and Paul, I think Mark, I think what'll be interesting is to see, you know, we've been kind of castigating Lennon for his lack of potential coaching ability or his ability to bring laddies on or get the best out of players. It'll be interesting to see. Interesting to see what Big Angie can get out of Yeti Bio.
But even going by Yeti there, like when I saw him at the pre-season, Shane down back saw it as well, like he's after losing a lot of weight and everything for it. Like, you know, like maybe it could have been down to all Lennon's not able to get the best out of the players. Like, but you can't say that. But these players too down to tools last season, so it wasn't all because of Lennon. The players shaded the same as well.
Paul, the last time I was on a CT, we've got bigger problems than Neil Lennon being away, and I'm still sitting here thinking, even with your question marks over Angie because he's an unknown entity, it's an easy one to sort. Angie can either cut it or he can't cut it, and time will tell, and that'll become very apparent very, very quickly. But that's an easy one to solve. If Angie can't cut it, he gets plugged. So that's no. that's not a difficult one to sort. The difficult one to sort is what's the problem?
You can't get rid of his aim at the drop of mid-season.
And worse than that, Mark, the board, if there is a fundamental problem at the board in terms of professionalism, vision, business acumen, if we've got an issue here, where we're at another Kelly stage, where we're really needing somebody else to come in here, we've got a bigger problem, because that's a harder one to sort, because you're caught here between buy your season ticket. Do you cut the oxygen off for them? To hit them where it hurts? You know, that's a harder one. Angie's easy. Angie's either, as I said at the beginning, he's either an inspired finding, and I don't think he might have been second choice. He'd have been my first choice over Eddie Howe, but he might have been second choice, but he must have been on the radar. And
spoke about that with Paul. The way I kind of get the impression, John, was that
because you wanted him.
I maybe to some degree, but he said he'd spent time in Japan and Australia and knew him before that. Before the airport, he got the Celtic job. And I don't know, to me, see when the Eddie Howe thing collapsed, did maybe Mackay come up and say, well, this guy here in Japan, blah, blah.
I think of it, Mark, that if Mackay wasn't actually involved, right, if he didn't come into the club early, right, when we came, he was officially supposed to start on the 1st July, but he came in earlier just to get things. If he wasn't around then, who would Laura or even Desmond? We could end up with Martin Neal or Roy Keane, I say, or even Gordon Strachan.
They've probably been Roy Keane. That's what I'm saying, Paul. We spoke about that. To me, it seems as if it's Mackay that's maybe came up with Ange. You know, he knew him before.
Is that right? Yeah.
His interview that he knew him. He'd spent time there in Japan and Australia, knew him and things like that. So I don't know whether when Eddie Howe fell through.
Barry, just go back to what you were saying. Barry, just what you were saying there, and the players and thing. But one thing that I liked, how I'm going to try and pronounce his name. The last lad we signed from Sheffield Wednesday, the defender. But when we signed him, like, it wasn't linked to the media first. Like, it was an official Twitter from the club that came out. You know, it was like everyone was like expected to be talking about the Lee Griffiths deal that they get the one-day extension. But then, surprisingly, the club came up with that. So maybe we are actually doing things behind the scenes and trying to get things over the line. But there is things, small things seem to be changing the way Mackay is doing stuff at the club, that it's not being linked to the media first, that the fans know stuff first through the media rather than the club. Do you get me?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, the club, when it comes to sort of any sort of dealings, transfer, any announcement by the club, they've always played their cards relatively close to their chest. They've always done that. But you're right. I mean, with the guy, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, the Dutch guy from Sheffield Wednesday, that name came from nowhere. There was no link with that until
even rumours or anything like that. Like, there was no kind of was there, you know.
No, and like I say. For me, it's just
that no a contradiction. He is moaning about how slow it takes things to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we are doing stuff behind the scenes, and maybe we are trying to get over the line. But you know, but at the end of the day, we still don't have the players in front of us. Do you know what I mean?
Paul, see, I'd love somebody to tell me that I'm wrong to be concerned. I was wrong 3 months away to be concerned at the highest level in the club. But I'm just listening to you speak. The three you speak, and we're speaking here that Eddie Howe and Gordon Strachan and Roy Keane was my options. I mean, that tells me I've got a problem with somebody making decisions if that was my.
But that's what I'm saying. If Dominic Mackay didn't come in that day, and we're left to believe it the way he was speaking to that, it was him who wanted. It was his man, 100%. He said, "Big Andrew's my man." But if Dominic Mackay didn't come in earlier, I'm thinking only God knows we could have ended up with Roy Keane or Gordon Strachan. You know.
Why is the one-away player still there? Why are they still there? You're not going to tell me you couldn't get a buyer for
exactly
Christie. Who else have we got? Eddie, Christie. Who else would we go? Especially
Christie, like whose father came out and said he wants to leave the club, and same with Oyer said he wants to leave, and they are going to pre-season. Like my problem is they're like that they're going to upset the group of players that are there, maybe throw around this negativity that they want to leave again. Do you know what I mean?
Paul, see, having now paid my money. and God willing, we'll be back in the stadium sooner rather than later. Irrespective of what I want, what I'm watching next year, what I don't want to be watching is somebody doesn't want to be there.
Oh, don't think you will, John. Honestly, see when we talk about that, how long it's taking to get players out the door. See at the point we're at with the type of these players, it's up to the agent now to get the deal that suits everybody. Do you know?
Like Celtic now put down their market for 12 million into mark.
Celtic will have told Ayer's agent, this is how much we want. This is what we want. It's up to you now to find a club that's willing to pay that. So,
But if I was a player like Mark, would you leave Celtic for Norwich?
it takes ages for us to get deals over the line, but it's also what these other deals. It takes ages for these other deals for players to leave to get over the line as well.
This is a good point.
See, to go back to your points, sorry, Paul, with regards to Dominic Mackay coming in and things changing, going behind the scenes, like, I still stand by what I say. Like, we're sitting here on the 5th of July and we've only got 2 players in the door. That's what I'm talking about things taking too long for me. We knew, we spoke about it long before the season finished. We spoke about it long before the season finished, about the overhaul that was going to happen. And like I say, we're 2 weeks away from Champions League qualifier, and we've brought 2 19-year-old lads in from Sheffield Wednesday. For me, that's not good enough.
Even now, you're going talking about your squad, like in your defence, who we actually have we badly need recruitment in defence. Julian is after having another step back in training, so Julian's going to be out for even longer. So we won't even have Julian.
Paul, and that's Welsh line as well. Can you hear us, Brian?
I'm listening. How you doing, boys?
Good man.
Hey, Welshy.
How you doing? Just try to get up to speed what you're talking about.
So that's Ayer away, Julian set back. So what we got as options for centre half?
So you have
Welsh and Beaton.
But here, see, this is something that I'm never one to really slag off a Celtic player, but for me, Anthony Ralston is our only right back.
That's right, he is.
We triggered a 1-year option. Now, listen, no harm to Anthony Ralston. God bless him. He's a young sort of player that's had an opportunity at Celtic. It never worked out for him. He got loaned out to Dundee United. He was deemed that they didn't want to keep a hold of him. He then got loaned out to St Johnstone. They didn't see enough in him to want to renew that loan. Yet he comes back to us, and it's kind of like we're forced to trigger a 1-year option on his contract because we've no other options.
That's hindering his career, though.
What was that, mate?
Do you not think we're hindering his career? Obviously he gets the money at Celtic, but as for going forward, he's not going to make it, is he? Since he moves on.
For me, Welsh, he's not. But like I say, he's not going to get an opportunity. Once Celtic signed a right back or 2 right backs, which I'm sure will come at some point, Ralston is going to be. He might find himself out in the club before the summer. But I just feel that we were, in order to safeguard ourselves and our squad as it stands at this moment in time, we were forced to trigger that 1-year option because we had no other alternative.
What about the Barcelona who's done it, Tranmere? Is he no right back?
Yeah, he is right back. I mean, I don't. He is Leo Connor. I don't know how well he done down there. I never really
they got to the playoffs,
followed his progress, Welshy, to be honest, mate.
I think he played a lot of games there, but
Hickey can play right back as well, can't he? Aaron Hickey can play right back. I think he's a left back, but he can play right back.
That's it. Yeah, but it's a player we're talking about. Hickey can play both things, but it's a player we actually don't have, and we actually don't know if he is going to come still. Like, I think that seems to be the problem. Like, as what the lads were saying, like, linking to the players are not getting the business done.
That Vuskovic, he can play right back as well, can he know?
He can play across the back line as well, yeah.
Aye, so maybe that's the kind of thing Angie's looking for. Maybe players that can adapt to different positions, which
interchangeable.
It can work. Well, it can work. But people like Beaton and
you're struggling big time at centre half.
I couldn't play Beaton centre half again. I can't see Beaton play as many games the way Ange plays a fast game. I can see Beacon pick up more injuries than he did at Celtic under Ange.
Definitely doesn't suit the kind of high pressing, high intensity way that we think Ange's, well, we said he's going to play.
But that's go back to what me and you were saying, Mark. Like Beaton is taking the place of the squad when we could put a youngster in there and have him in the first team. Do you know what I mean? It's taking the place of a youngster or a new signing on the squad.
I think Beaton's a good squad player, though.
Yep.
When he's face.
You know, Beaton's the type of person you bring on when you're 2-0 up and you try to slow the game down. I know that's not exactly the philosophy of he's talking about, Ange, but Beaton definitely has his strengths when it comes to that.
Luca Connell can do that.
Hopefully he needs his chance, doesn't he?
Well, that's what I mean. That's my point about it. These players like Beaton, that is a good squad player, but he's no pushing. He's no. See, like if you've got a young guy snapping at the heels of the centre halves or whatever position he can cover, whereas Beaton's the type who'll just wait till somebody's injured or somebody's. You know, don't get the impression that Beaton's training and trying to force himself. Do you get what I mean? He's not trying to. He never comes across if he's trying to. Force.
No, he's the same constantly, isn't he?
He's happy to sit there and wait on getting his chance, whereas you'd like to think a younger player would be snapping at the heels, trying to force his way into the team more. Guys like Beaton, that's just off. Just a staleness about their full.
Just the other side as well, you could be looking at, Ange looking at these young boys as well. A couple of young boys were signing. You know, we talk about projects. This could really be a season where he's trying to build his team rather than just, making his team, so to speak, rather than just buying a team. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows how it's going to go? But I mean, some of these boys, we'll talk about the SPL here. We should beat everybody and then see what happens against Rangers. At the end of the day, it's these boys could come to the fore.
But that's like that. We've always said like we don't know how our youth can play, Mark, because we never got the chance to see them. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly. I've said that 100 times, Paul. And
yeah.
Well, Ange said he's going to give the youth a chance. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight thing. I mean, we're talking about players like Beaton, so I can understand what Welshy's saying that about he's a good squad player. I think there's a lot more important things needed team than getting rid of Beaton. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To concentrate and get the best 11 that we can, whether it's in the club or bringing in transfers. We've got to basically own that first 11 now.
God by chance was there just like let Mikey come in there with the list of maybe affordable transfer targets, Mikey, you said that you had and players wanted away and what we could get for them. If you want to go through that with us.
Well, like he says, I've made a list and before anybody jumps on it, this is just me as a person. Like I've came up with things that are rumoured to be and using a couple of websites to try and get what people are valued at and stuff. So I've got Ayer going out for 12 million, Skpe going out for 2.5 million, Edward going out for 15 million, but again, we don't know what percentage of that's due to PSG, and then Chams away for 2 million. So that roughly is about 31 million right off the boat for guys that didn't even want to beat the club.
Uh-huh.
And the fees that I've mentioned there, I certainly don't think that they're over the value. Like I say, I still think 12 million for Ayer's steal. But
Celtic's looking for Mikey.
But that's what they're getting. That's what I put. So I put on the list of players that have been rumoured that I would be happy with. So I put Benji Siegrist from United, 1 million, because I'm happy with Barkas. I think Postecoglou, especially with his Greek heritage, I think they'll get the player that they wanted last season in Barkas. I think he'll come good. So that would be Siegrist as a backup to Barkas. In my opinion, I would be happy with that going to the new season. The 3 fullbacks that I've got listed can play either side. And that's Aaron Hickey, 3.5 million, Josh Doig, 1.5 million, and then Kenneth Pale, Eredivisie. He's actually valued at only 1 million, Paul.
1 million, is it? 1 million, right?
1 million. And then I've got Mario Vuskovic. He's 5 million. Then the other player that I really liked at Celtic have been linked with is Omar Colley, the centre back for Sampdoria, a big massive guy. He's valued at 5.5 million. So that would be 5 defenders added. And you've got Aaron Moy. He's currently speaking to his club just now about getting out his contract for free. Then you've got Patrick Berg, the young Scandinavian midfielder, who is well sought after by 3 million, and Ali McCann at 1 million. I've not put Lewis Ferguson on the list because it's just personal. And then for a winger, there's a guy that you mentioned. He's one of the best wingers in the Eredivisie in the season past. Gerano Kirk. He plays for Utrecht, valued at 5 million. And then I went for a striker that they've been linked to in the last 6 hours, I think it is. And he just got actually relegated from a team in the Eredivisie, Venlo. He's named Georgios Giacomakis. He's valued at 2.5 million, and he scored just under 30 goals in the Eredivisie last season. He got relegated, believe it or not. And then I've got Kevin Nisbet at 4 million, which I think's expensive, considering Giacomakis, the guy that got top goal scorer in the Eredivisie, is valued at 2.5 million, and that's 31 million. So you're actually making a profit of 500k on that list based on the numbers taken from the net. You know
Exactly.
I mean? Look at the players that you've got coming in. And people can say, oh, it's all fantasy football, this, that, and next thing. I'm only pulling numbers from...
But they're realistic targets, they're realistic targets for Celtic.
Linked with Celtic, Mikey, so you're with the values that are flying about the internet. Nobody going...
That's what I mean. So all the players coming in, that's 10 players, roughly, at about 31 million, and people at Celtic can't afford that. But when you've got nearly 30 million going out in fees for players that didn't want to be there...
Exactly.
So, I mean, I understand there's agent fees and this, that, and the next thing, but I mean, if you're able to get Aaron Moy, Ali McCann, and Vuskovic, and Hickey, and Segrist, and that's...
Well, Ali McCann would be in less wages than Christie would be. So there you're even going to save on wages with a lot of the signings that you've mentioned.
And he's a better player. And he's a better player, in my opinion.
Anything else to that rumour, Mikey, that he was seen at the airport in China, or is it all kind of, that he was trying to...
What I heard was as soon as supposedly Aaron Moy and Postecoglou, they're meant to be joined at the hip with the whole national team.
Yeah.
And I don't know what a guy's thinking that, but I remember seeing Aaron Moy when he went for Brighton and that down in the Premier League. And I didn't actually rate that league, but I thought he stood out a mile for the team he played.
Oh, did he was way above the Brighton team down the Premier League. He was a standout player, man.
He was different class at Huddersfield, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like.
And like he says, and the rumour, like he says in the last few hours, is that he's spoke to Shanghai about just getting out his contract.
Because what myself and Mark heard about that was that Celtic, was it Laurel at the time, Mark, and think they wanted, there was no negotiations between himself, Celtic and James McCarthy, and the rumour was that Ange told them to cease no negotiations with James McCarthy and make an approach for Moy instead.
Maybe Moy would be his captain.
Like I say, that Aaron Moy, if they were to sign players like that, like he says, I understand. Like he said,
and he's a shot in him as well, don't he? Moy is a shot. I'd be delighted. Like that to me was send down a statement if we signed Aaron Moy.
Well, more like say, if you had Aaron Moy, McGregor, and Turnbull in the midfield.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like he says, and I'll leave other guys to look him up. His name's Georgios Giacomakis.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, boy.
Like he says, he was the top goal scorer in the Eredivisie last season with just under 30 goals with a team that got relegated. And he's valued in the club have already said he's leaving for a fee around £2.5 million.
I'm
only 26.
I'm just happy we're linked with Moy so I could pronounce it.
And like I said, other guys, like I say, Vuskovic, hopefully, Doig, Hickey. Like, Hickey...
he wants to come home to Scotland as well, doesn't he?
He's a must.
Fiorentina are gone in now, and Napoli are gone in for him.
What I don't understand is as well, and I think it was JV that said regarding like Taylor. What is Celtic's problem with Taylor? Because I actually rate him as a centre, as a left back.
Did not wrong, from my opinion, last season, and it's true what John said there, like that. We went with Laxell in every single thing, and it was down that flank, but we got caught for the goals with Laxell against Rangers. It was down Laxell's side, like.
He'll struggle if fans want to play with pace on the width, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you see Taylor live and up close, he's very, very slow.
And going by the way Ange plays him, the way he plays a fat. Brian, would Taylor struggle, do you think, in there?
Well, let's say, first and foremost, if he's there to defend, which is what we were talking about last season, then he was obviously better than what we had. Going forward, we're going to start playing with wing backs. I mean, who knows? That's the impression I get with Ange. That's the way he's going to play a high pressing game. Just from what I've seen of Taylor, he's not got the pace. Obviously, the boy knows how to defend, but I don't think he's got the pace for getting up and down the flanks.
I think Anthony Ralston's a bigger worry as your only choice for a right back. He's a bigger worry for me than Taylor is my. I think there's a player in Taylor as well, but I don't. I'm a minority, I think. But
well, that's not me having a go at Taylor. I just think it's the type of formation that he'll want to play. I don't think Taylor will suit that system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting linked with Josh Doigar and Hickey. We're getting linked with left backs, and there's nothing seems to be kicking about for a right back other than Hickey, who can play in a right back position as well.
I think Taylor does a job. I've stuck up for him all. He's never going to be a world beater, and I think a lot of the things is he's always kind of compared to KT. Do you know what? That's always going to be a problem, but he's reliable against your SPL team kind of level and that. But obviously getting into Europe higher levels, we would struggle. But for Scotland, I don't really see a problem with playing Taylor.
We know Ralston's not going to cut it at right back either, Mark.
Definitely.
You know.
That was the major. That really sent kind of alarm bells to me when he got the contract extension, because we had him down our list there, Mark, at the end of the season with Barry and Michael. That he was on it to be gone. Do you know what I mean? His contract was up and everything, But does that just to go to show how badly we're stuck for numbers within the squad, that maybe he'd be our backup next season?
I think you're right, Paul. Ralston, you've got 2 1-year extensions here. Griffiths and Ralston. Mm-hmm. They're either A, cheap and nasty, and that's the way we're heading, or B, there's a bit of wisdom in the two of them. Because we're saying we know Ralston's not going to cut it, but we've got nothing at right back just now. Kenny's away. There's nothing at right back. So you're better. When you've got nothing, I think it was a no-brainer exercising that clause, and I think Griffiths is for the reasons I've said. I think there's no lot of money in Griffiths. Eddie had Eddie away before now, and the last thing you want is Griffiths hitting the ball.
Otherwise, we could go into the European Championships like a couple of years back when we had was it Cal McGregor was in left back, I think, was this? You could be hitting something like that going into the qualifiers at Midtjylland, Well,
that was a Brendan Rodgers special at Ibrox, remember?
Yeah,
done it. Lennon done it.
Was it fair enough?
In the gap,
yeah.
No, it was Cluj.
Was it
Cluj?
4-3 at Cluj.
Clearly did walk out like one this.
Left back.
Michael, go on your list there. Has Jonas said how any? I know the deal for Seagas and Ipswich that fell through, didn't it?
Yeah, like you say, is
because like he was holding out for Celtic.
Yeah, well, I say Dundee United have already says that Seagrist is not for sale, but at the right price. So the price that they've been given is £1 million.
Exactly.
And based on the goalkeepers we've got, and I like I say, people vote their opinion. I'll always stick up for Barkas because prior to Celtic, like I've said many times, he was one of the most sought after goalkeepers in Europe. Like I said, okay, but he went through the pandemic year. But
I was watching training there, and I was saying to Mark through our own phone calls, like the saves Barkas was making in the pre-season training just a few days back, like he was making saves that we didn't see him play on the pitch, Well,
I mean, like Barkas was a new player in the club, and he bought for a lot of money, so there was obviously a lot of pressure on him. But look how many other Celtic players. Look at Callum McGregor in that last year.
Exactly.
You know I mean? Okay, if Barkas was new, he was £5 million, so he took the brunt of a lot of people's frustrations. But there was loads of players in that Celtic team that underperformed, just as bad as Barkas.
Half didn't help him one bit, though, did they?
I mean, if you imagine,
that's what I was saying, Welchy, and I was saying to Barry as well, and Barry kind of thing, having a settled backline in front of you as well, and who could play, our backline were atrocious last season.
Can you imagine playing with the centre backs in front of you last season?
No, I couldn't.
Every time the ball got put into the box, it always looked like we were going to concede.
A free kick was like a penalty to Celtic last season. That's what it was. A free kick was a penalty. And Barry used to say that as well, Barry, didn't you? That a free kick was a penalty, Barry.
I mean, it was a massive Achilles heel for us. At any time there was a free kick out wide getting put into our box, you were fearing the worst every single time. And unfortunately, a good percentage of those ended up as goals against us. And that just goes down to your centre half not dominating the ball, not attacking the ball. But that's something that's going to have to be addressed this season. But there's no doubt about it.
Can he defend a corner?
Point of view.
No,
or a set piece. From a goalkeeper is a lot higher if you've got confidence in your centre halves that they're going to win the majority of balls. Whereas if you've got in your mind that the likelihood is that the opposition are going to win this, that drains your confidence at a keeper right away. So there's no doubt about it. Barkas was affected, but at the same time as well, I'm kind of on the fence with Barkas. I'm more than happy to give him another opportunity, but a lot of the goals that he conceded, shots that he failed to stop. You couldn't always point the finger at the centre half. So you could have done.
See, it works both ways. It works both ways, Barry. The defence has to have confidence as well. Who's behind them? Do you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely.
It's both ways. Like,
I don't want to speak too much about the other half, but their two centre halves, before last season were very, very average. But look who they've got behind them. They've got a guy that's full of confidence that they know is going to pull them out the mess if ever they get into it. They've got real confidence in his goalkeeping play, and that gave them the confidence to go on and have. Goldson was in line for the Player of the Year, and for me, I don't rate that guy at all. But I guess I can't take away from the fact he had a good year last year. But it does make a massive difference if you've got a unity back there, a defence that's playing with confidence, that's playing every week, that's doing the jobs that they're asked to do, along with the goalkeeper. It breeds confidence in itself, and hopefully that's what's going to happen this season.
Like you said that, JFP, that he was when you said he was worth 20 points to them last season, and he proved it, didn't he?
I said that to my son when he signed. I thought he's worth 20 points to them, and it panned out that way. You could pretty much I gave him the league title last year. Mm-hmm. It was. I think I'm hopefully Barkas can come good, but serious questions at centre half. You get gaps everywhere. We know where they are. We know where they are. As I said, you're needing a couple of centre halves, a right back, a left back, midfield, left wing, two strikers. You've got gaps everywhere.
But you think my problem is like we see all this, right? The fans see all, and we've seen this coming. We've seen this big huge rebuild coming. But do you think maybe the board and Andrew actually seen how depleted our squad is?
I don't think the board has done anything with it. This is back to how we started the night, Paul. I don't think the board has done anything to allay my fears for 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. That said to you that they've either got the vision, the business acumen, or the professionalism in there to resolve this. I mean, your man Mackay. I mean, what's his role? What's his position? He doesn't have shares, does he? He doesn't own anything. The one thing in a business, the only man the only man in a business that affects the direction of the business is the man who owns it. You can have, I've worked in places where you have directors and managing directors and people. We also have fancy directors. The man whose name is registered at Colonel's House is the man that makes the decisions all the time. That's no Dominic Mackay. I've just got question marks. You got to think you've got to take in the whole the shambles it was last season. A monumental act of self-harm, and the lack of action so far. Their arrogance is just what I started to be at the beginning. Thanks for your grand. There's a £50 voucher and you're spending it in my shop, but it expires in September. Give me another grand. And by the way, we don't know if you're getting into the stadium. And did you remember in opt-in? If you want to come to the party, I think, come on. None of that's filling me with confidence. None of it. But as I said to you, and you hear Mikey's NHS jersey story at the start there, and the disconnect continues for me.
Yeah, it's a long kind of rebuild that Celtic have to do there with the fans, and it's actually atrocious the way they treated Michael. I really couldn't believe it. Like, well, you're just on there. Anything you want to bring up?
No. I just echo what a lot of JFP's just said there in terms of the way the club are disconnect with the fans. But obviously we've been down that road a few times.
Like you missed the start of it there. Why did you just want to run through Welshy there? What Celtic said to you briefly about kind of a donation or something for the club for the fundraiser?
Basically, Welshy, I put out an email to all top flight Scottish clubs to ask if they were able to donate something that I could raffle off, to raise money for the NHS. So, on the advice of my mum and everything, I emailed everybody in the top flight. And I've had replies from nearly everybody that they're hoping to get something sent out. Just waiting on confirmation from a few things. And I got an email back from Celtic saying that it wasn't something they were interested in.
Really?
And they weren't wanting to support it. And around the same time, I got an email back from Rangers asking for my home address, and they'll get something sent out ASAP because of the cause that I'm doing it for. And they couldn't believe that the money that we were raising and the generosity and this, that, and next thing, and just the difference in speaking to both clubs. Like you say,
it's been night and day. I spoke to Mikey Welshy, and it's been shocking, mate. Honestly,
I can't believe that, to be honest with you.
Even the tone of the emails in that, Mikey Welshy, it's as if got to get peace, son. You're wasting your time. We've got better things to do than talk to you about this. Just kind of fobbed them off. We're interested in helping you. And that was both Celtic and it was the foundation as well. We contacted them too, didn't you, Mikey?
I contacted them all. Like I said, this started weeks and weeks ago when I first got in touch with Celtic to ask if we were able to use Lennoxtown's one of their pitches. It didn't matter what time, date, whenever, for the charity match. This is before Falkirk got involved. And they sent me an email back, and it was just basically a one-liner saying, sorry, not interested in holding this event. And then I got in touch regarding getting a signed shirt or signed anything from Celtic, because it would have raised money, because like Celtic fans, like you say, they're fanatics. They'll buy
even just
anything,
a tweet, even just a tweet from Celtic to push it forward, gives it support. Anything. That's ridiculous.
A point there. That's even a point as well. Imagine Celtic just agreed to we'll send out a tweet. Imagine them sending out something on their social media or something, just showing a kind of support or a kind of help them advertise it. But
that would have been amazing. It would have been amazing. Any help, like you say, I wasn't expecting the world from clubs, but when you start getting replies from Rangers, Hibs, St Johnstone, Dundee United, Forfar, another club, Forest Green Rovers down in England. That's a different story for a different day. But even they got back in touch. And then you get the club that you've supported for 34 years, that you've spent thousands and thousands of pounds at. And you get
the custodians of the club don't have the values at heart that we do they? That's the thing.
That's what I said earlier, Welshy. See the way they kind of project this charity thing and all that. Treat Mikey like that. Do you know what I mean? It just goes against everything they try to do with a public person.
And it's commendable what you're doing there, Michael, but I should imagine you're not the only person who's actually tried to raise awareness for something and got in touch with Celtic. You've got to wonder how many knockbacks have actually done.
Yeah, like he says, I was very, like he says, because obviously what was raised for, because it's the NHS and everybody knows the year that they've just went and hid in the whole of Britain. And don't get us wrong, like I said, it wasn't just Celtic. Like it says, Arsenal were similar, Man United, Newcastle. One of the worst replies I got was from Sunderland. I mean, I can go on about this all day.
To be fair, though, the rest of the clubs are irrelevant. That's your club, and charity at heart. That should be, should be the first team to get behind you.
Yeah.
I think what burdened me more is because it happened twice. Like it says, they couldn't They couldn't even give a training pitch for 90 minutes, and like you got guys at Falkirk owners on Zoom calls with us and sorting out referees for us and match day bars, and like you got clubs bending over backwards, and you've got your club at heart that treat you like just like nothing, like something on the bottom of your shoe. Here's your £1,000 for your season ticket, but I hope you're not expecting anything in return there.
That's how it's felt for a while, though, isn't it? I mean, just fans have been at the forefront of that, haven't they?
Right, so yeah, I asked John about it earlier. So what's your take on these demonstrations and that for the Celtic Trust and other associated fan groups?
To be honest with you, what Michael's just told me there just now, it even strengthens that, to be honest with you. I mean, what people need to separate, in my eyes, is what they're doing. You've got the people who run the club who are one entity, and then you've got the Celtics, I suppose, Andrew's in charge of the team and getting behind the team. Mm-hmm. Reading through, I mean, obviously, this is nothing to do with me. I just read between the lines just like everybody else. I've not actually spoken to a lot of people about it, and to be fair. But to me, it's, do we just ignore what's happening to the club? I mean, what Michael's just told me, makes that even more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
But we were saying earlier, the disconnect between the club and the support.
Well, it's us and them, isn't it? It's pure and simple.
What I said before we came on to John, I used that exact phrase, us and them. But do you know how I feel it's always been like that, Welshy?
But you know what, Mark? That it's just going back to what we were saying at the start of the show, and the thing, like, fair enough, we've a new CEO who wants to come, he wants to change that, he done. But it's going back to the same people are still there under the Law era, and that's just a prime example of it there, like, isn't it?
No, I mean, see one, was it, I don't know, was it the fan, during the fan media conference, did somebody not get up last, I don't know if it's Mackay or Ange, about, like, the charities and getting married?
Yeah, and he said he wants to get more involved with that, and Ange said that he's going to get his players involved in kind of stuff like that. That he thinks it's great for the club to get out there and help the club foundations for charity.
A week later, Mikey gets an email like that off them.
Mm-hmm. But is that like going back to that? These problems are still there as long as we say. Who would you be emailing with? Would it be the PR department or
I wouldn't need PR department. That guy's a clown.
No, what I'm saying is like who
supporter,
like who
supporter in front of
who emailed Michael back? Like, that's what I'm kind of asking. Like, who was it within the department? Like, what kind of department, Mike?
I emailed.
Don't mention anybody's name, Mikey.
No, just the department. Like, yeah.
The best person you'll ever deal with at Celtic is JP Taylor. He's absolutely fantastic. I've dealt with him many occasions. He's always very quick to respond to anything. Now, I'm not saying he can do anything about this, but see that guy, I've dealt with him over the years. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a top bloke.
You wouldn't want his job, would you?
No. No.
But Barry, is that just going back?
I've known JP for years. Worked in the ticket office. I've known JP.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Paul McStay's testimonial and that was going on. And JP, anything I've ever asked him for, he's sorted us out for it, no bother. But you shouldn't need to get JP involved in something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not as if you're asking him for a gift for some. Do you know what I mean? You're not asking for something personal or somebody no well or whatever. Can you send a wee card kind of thing and things like
that? They've run out of vouchers, haven't they?
It's the NHS collecting money for.
They've run out of vouchers.
Aye.
But is it going back? It's true like that. As long as these people on the Lord era, they're like, the club's not going to change. Like, you know, it's I think Mackay will find it very hard to implement his own thing as long as these people are still there. You know.
The PR department's even got it.
Mm-hmm.
I've said that for years as well. The guy that runs the PR, he's a Heart supporter. He's been there for years. We never hear from him. We never hear.
All you hear is happy birthday or crap.
The thing is, that way, Michael, though, is that a one-man decision, or is that going through a decision-making process, or somebody should be held accountable, at least Paul on that.
That's no way. The PR department's no reason why we're sitting here questioning if Celtic's lost their soul. It's back to what Barry said earlier on there. He said the results, it's all about results, and as long as results were happy. For me, I can only speak for myself personally. Celtic's a bit more than that. Celtic's got a corporate social responsibility. They're an institution. They're a social entity in this country here. They're more than a business. It needs to run a business.
How they were founded with all the famine and
100%
thing and stuff like that. That's tradition, and the amount of people dying over the COVID and stuff like that. It is it's disheartening to Mickey to get a thing like that. It's just ridiculous. And twice, you know what I mean, twice.
Basically, Celtic's refused to help them.
That's right.
That's the bottom line here. You might be a bit dramatic, but that is what
it basically is, right? That basically is. Do you know what I mean? That
people have
even with just a simple gesture. So just a simple gesture is all it takes as well.
Mikey's took all this time, and as I said earlier as well, I know for a fact Mikey's out of pocket of this.
Mm-hmm.
Get things arranged, and there's wee things that was paying. He says, that's all paid for and everything. So he's out of pocket doing this, and he's doing it for our National Health Service, and Celtic just didn't want involved, didn't care about it.
What I'm trying to say is that see when I hear Mikey's story, that's it's stories like that would stop me going to see Celtic before failure or losing 10 in a row would stop me. There's a bigger attraction to Celtic.
And especially like Mickey and all his family and everything growing up following Celtic, going to the matches and you know, it's not like that he's not a Celtic fan or anything, like he's a genuine Celtic fan. Pleading with the club that he loves.
But see,
I think when he gets a...
Oh, as I said earlier, even if you weren't a Celtic fan,
doesn't matter. It's true what fault, but that's just makes it worse, Mark.
It's not as if they're collecting money for the St Vincent de Paul. Do you know what I mean? It's
one of our big rivals, Mark, said it, like he gave a prime example in Falkirk, like there should be no flags. Do you know what I mean? There's no flags in what Mickey's trying to do here. Like, I mean,
I think it's salt in the wounds when you hear the reply you get back for Ibrox, whereas you could be kind of 99.99% sure when they heard his name that they would know he wouldn't have a season ticket there.
I said that as well. As soon as they see an email from Michael Conroy, they know
exactly right.
It's just a case of just send us your address and we'll get something sorted out for you. Total night and day.
I think one of my biggest surprises was as well is my mum and my dad put it on their Facebook, because obviously I don't do social media, and I actually didn't even know that they put it up, because obviously I told them about what happened with the two clubs, and believe it or not, it was the reaction that my mum got specifically. She had other Celtic fans on her Facebook trying to defend Celtic over the matter. And basically it says, oh well, Celtic get inundated with them. They're the most inundated club in Scotland for charity requests. I don't care how biased you are in this thing. Nobody's going to try and insult me by saying that Celtic get more charity requests than Rangers Football Club. And like he says, it wasn't about the fact that Celtic said no. It was just the reply.
It was a manner of it, Mikey. It was a manner.
Oh yeah.
Okay, moving on. Just with the qualifiers, I said nearly 2 weeks away now. I say, is this the first match? I said, and the squad that we have at the moment, like what kind of team would we first 11 can we feel at the moment? Barry, come to yourself first. If you can give a roster for the players that we have, and are we confident with these players going into the first qualifier?
You know something, as Celtic fans, we're always optimistic. I'd probably be more optimistic than confident, if I'm honest. We can still get a team onto that field. We can still get a team that's capable of beating Midtjylland onto that field, as far as I'm concerned. You've still got quality in there. Yeah. But, I mean, I think it boils down to kind of what John was saying earlier. Would you want to be putting Edward into this game? Would you want to be putting, like, for example, in Charlie, who's travelled?
Christie.
I have maybe a wee bit different, because I have played the whole season. I really didn't.
And he gave his all. Yeah, he did kind of give his all really last season.
Ryan Christie's another one. You know, would I want him going into this? You know, this is an important game for Celtic. You know, this could really shape our sort of European progression this season. This specific tie. So. Are you going to play them? I don't know the answer to that. You might very well have to play them. But for me, we've still got quality in the squad. You've still got Callum McGregor in there. You know, you've got Ismaila Soro. You've got, you know, Lee Griffiths can still play a part. You know, there is quality in the squad. I would like to see another couple of additions anyway to add to that. But, you know, it's a difficult one to call, Paul, because like
my only concern going into this thing is the defence. How depleted the defence is. That's my only concern going into this, is the defence and maybe the goalkeeper area. That's my two big concerns.
That's the big concern for everybody. And you know, John mentioned it earlier. You know, centre half's a big worry. You know, if I had, you've got Stephen Welsh in there. We spoke about it probably in the early podcast. Nothing against Stephen Welsh. I was very impressed with him when he came in, but would you want him as your sort of first choice going into these sort of qualifiers? Probably not. He'd be great backup for me, but I wouldn't want him as a solid first choice centre back. The right back position right now is a massive question.
You know for a fact that Ralph is going to be playing there.
I mean, you know, Welsh you mentioned earlier, and you know, Leo Connor, but Leo Connor's never played a minute of football for Celtic. But you know, there's another option. You know, I do think there will be players. You know what I say? I hope there would be players signed before that. I'd like to think we'd get another 2 or 3 players in the door before the qualifier. It's got to be the aim of the club to get boys in before that.
I think we get a rough idea
we're going
tomorrow
with-
when the match was, is it Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow, I think, at 3 o'clock, is it? Or is it Wednesday?
It's Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
Can I get a rough estimation? You can always...
Yeah, it isn't 8 o'clock.
No, I think it's 3 o'clock, Welshy. I'm sure it's.
No, so the share it was 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
I think if you're going into this game and you're going into this, if you're going into this game, you'll be either Bain or Barkas, Taylor, Welsh, Beaton, and Ralston as your back five, or your back four, and a goalkeeper. You're in bother. And I think just
into the Midtjylland game with that'll no be our defence. No win the world. I mean, and see for this about who's travelled down to Wales and that, the guys are still contracted to Celtic. Celtic have still got to care. They've still got to do their jobs. They've got to turn up for training and stuff like that. Would they be in breach of contract?
Barry mentioned there, it's a hard shout as to whether the Wantaways should play or not. I don't think it is a hard shout. I think we all get our answer to that last year. I don't think we need another season. I don't think we need a repeat.
But what about this situation with? It was rumoured, and myself and Mark spoke with Barry and Michael as well, that maybe Edward might be staying on for an extra year. And then maybe go at the end of next season, John. What's your thoughts on that?
I would have had Eddie away. I'd had Eddie away. I told you I'd had Eddie away after the last Rangers game. It's
John, I would never have let him pull on the jersey.
I wouldn't have played. Never wore a jerseys for me again after that.
And again, it's down to his agent. Celtic have told his agent, we want X amount of money. This is the deal we want. Now you find him a club. Edward's Celtic career's over. It's got to be Celtic. Keep Ed another year for, even if he signs an extension. What's the point of signing a year?
You're on the same boat next season, Mark. And Mark, if he signs an extension, that clause is still going to be there, isn't it?
The selling clause, I still don't believe that's 40%. Peter Lowell would have agreed to that. But us signing Eddie for another year is only doing what kind of suits Edward then. Because that doesn't suit Celtic to have a player that done what he done last year. Get him out the door, him and Chris.
100%. Yep.
I swear to God, I'm going to end up ranting about him again, but
you got your
hunt the two of them.
You got your answer. You got your answer last season. You don't need another. You don't even need another game to make your mind up. You've had all the evidence that you needed. They're guilty as charged. Punt them. Eddie and Christie.
Bang on.
Well, we're going by one player here, and when he reported to the Irish under 21s, the Irish under 21s manager said he wasted 2 years at Celtic, and he didn't progress his career at Celtic, and we saw him go out on loan this season was Luke O'Connell. Like he needs to be kind of breaking in to the team next season. Don't you giving his chance, and we can see what he's doing, I
think you'll see that in these coming games. I think that's what I'm going to look at most closely in the games we've got coming up down in Wales and the Sheffield Wednesday, Charlton, etc. I'm going to keep a close eye on the progression of these younger players, because we've got some good young players. There's no doubt about it. We've spoke about it before. They've never had an opportunity before. Well, now's a bigger chance as any for them. So
exactly, especially when they were training with when the squad was so depleted. Dan said there he's a lot of youngsters and he wants to see the youngsters. Like, now's their chance, Barry.
Absolutely. I've said it before. It's a great opportunity for them to go and show. It's a clean slate, like we've said previously. A clean slate for every single player to go and stake a claim for a place in the squad, a place in the team. Hopefully you get these energetic, keen youngsters that are going in there and going to say, you know what, I'm going to make my stamp on this season. I'm going to show the manager what I can do, and I'm going to make it impossible for him not to include me in the squad. So, like I say, I'm very interested to see these young guys in the coming days.
Especially young Dembele as well. Like, Like he'd be a player, I think, who would do well under Ange. Young Dembele, the speed that Ange would play. Well, would you think that maybe Ange can convince him to stay on at Celtic? Brian?
Dembele. Do you know something? Dembele seems a bit of an enigma to me. Really, he seems to be such a great player that we don't see. We definitely missed Wood last season with Forrest being it. whether he never got his chance, whether it was through his contract, his attitude, whatever, I don't quite know. We just thought it was Lennon. But Dembele's not somebody I'm actually counting on this season. From reading between the lines, he's not going to be here. But it's as far as the youth's concerned, O'Connell's it needs to be made clear by Ange and the rest of the backroom staff that the young boys are going to get the chance to impress and get the chance to play. If they're good enough, play them.
So that's what myself and Mark were talking about there on Friday. Mark, myself, we were saying it's the fact is that the young players are leaving without us even seeing them. Do you know what I mean? In the first team, or even getting a chance to make our kind of own judgment on, and then we can see why they're being let go. Do you know what I mean? There's some good players.
Why when they go to Bayern Munich and places like that.
Exactly.
You've got to understand that though. That to me is a different.
It's different class. Yes, exactly.
They're not just leaving and going to Tranmere or Grimsby or somewhere. They're going to Bayern Munich.
But that's what I'm saying. They must be.
They've got the eye Bayern Munich, so they're not players.
They're not bad players. That seems to be the problem. Yeah.
The other times there's just no clear pathway into getting into the Celtic team. That coach that left, he said his job was to get them ready for the first team. And they were doing that. There were so many players, we're sitting talking about them, there were so many players that deserved a chance in the first team and just never got it.
Never got it. Never got that fight over the bridge, into it. Yeah.
One of the good things, players being away in international duty and these players that are wanting away and that, hopefully during the first few training sessions with Ange, this thing down in Wales and that, these young players will step up to the plate and make their mark and catch Ange's eye, and he'll say, I'll no need to buy a second choice centre back because look at
that's the perfect scenario, isn't it?
That's exactly the way Celtic should be looking at things.
Going by another player, I spoke to the lad, but it's Tom Roderick. Do you think he's going to play a role, or considering his injuries and stuff like that? Ange spoke about him, saying that he'd be a player that he wants to keep, and he's a player he knows. Can you play some part in Ange's plans?
I can't believe Roderick's still a Celtic player, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
I don't think you probably believe it either.
But he was all set to go, Mark. He was all set to go. He said that he was nearly a banker to be gone, I think himself, this summer, I say, until Ange came in, I say.
The story, you sent me the story and said that, Rogic had turned down a tournament Australia were playing in?
Yeah.
He was staying in
and that was that was before Ange came.
That's what I was going to say. Did he know then that Ange was for this job?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. That he actually knew.
I don't know what Ange has said in interviews about how he wants the team to play in that. I don't know where Rogic is going to fit into that.
I think we're going to see a lot. We won't see a lot, but we see maybe a glimpse on Wednesday what way his formation anyway is going to be anyway, I think, because I can't see him play a 4-3-3. Does he play it's the 4-3-3 he goes for, isn't this? Kind of the wing backs then, isn't this?
What he said in his interview, he plays a version of 4-3-3 or something. That was his kind of words. But these friendlies will give these pre-season games, he'll give us an idea of his actual the way he wants the team to play, but by the time the season starts, I'm expecting a lot of changes in personnel and that, Paul. So that's
definitely.
It's pre-season. Let's not get hung up on it. Do you know what I mean? Barry will tell you these games are just about fitness and sharpness and things like that. They don't really, the results and stuff like that don't mean that much. It's made up.
I love the pre-season games. You go away and watch the games. It's always the young boys that are playing.
What's the story in the recruitment front just now? What's is your man away? What's his name? The recruitment boy. Is he still? He's away, isn't he?
Yeah, he's gone. And
so there's nobody, because we were linked to the other boy that fell through. There's nobody. Who is it just now then? Who's calling the shots?
Paul, what's that? It's a kind of French.
Left Farah. He came from Arsenal. And he used to work kind of under Penrice and Hammett, but if you go in now to Celtic staff, he's actually named as head as recruitment operations. So
right.
I don't know if they're going to be, but at the moment he is. But I don't know if that's going to be a thing so. That's what I'm thinking, is that the scouting department, the scouting department is still working, and it's actually him that's walking around these players.
See, there's got to have been some kind of continuation. Signed Liam Shaw, the other young Dutch guy. So and Ange says himself it's somebody the club's been looking and keeping an eye on for a while.
Was there no link between the scout from Celtic and something to do with Sheffield Wednesday? I saw it on Twitter the other day there.
I read that as well. Some scout that worked with Celtic and is at Sheffield Wednesday or vice versa. But there's got to be somebody making these decisions. And there's got to be some kind of continuation, whether it's that guy you mentioned there, Paul, I don't know, but there's got to be some kind of continuation of the work that's actually been done.
And maybe he's scouting the players that maybe because Penroy said that his job was 24/7, Mark, when he was there. That they're constantly looking at players. Like, so you're scouting department.
You don't just rip up the books of a whole year, do you? Just because you've got a new manager.
Exactly.
You know,
like,
the
that
scout
keeps
stuff's
going.
already there.
I mean, it's right. Maybe Celtic. Right, we heard with how that supposedly one of the rumours was Celtic gave him a list of available players and he didn't fancy them. But even the players.
Jay Lahav there, Bobby Sunderland said that Jay Lahav, he's the head. He's actually the fellow I read up on that who at the moment is running that department.
See if Celtic has already done the scouting work and done all the data work and everything on these players. They're going to at least say to Ange, well, here's the players that we've done our homework on, and they're
the background staff. We've known that's the background staff with Ange is another concern. For me as well. That doesn't stack up. You know, I can't remember the last time I seen a manager going somewhere and didn't bring his didn't take background staff with him.
I think he will, John. I've said that.
Do you think so?
I think he will.
I think he's running. What did he say, Mark? That he's going to kind of ratchet things closely, and see then if they're actually up for him. He said it doesn't mean that. He said there will be changes. He said it doesn't mean people would leave, but he said there will be people coming in, people who I know and I trust. At the end of the day, I'll make that decision when I feel the time is right.
I think he's maybe just looking at things, you know, and see. He said himself, even with players, some people won't buy into what I'm doing.
He seems confident and self-assured, to be fair, doesn't he?
He does well. He certainly comes across as his own man.
Some of them can he buy in, and some of them just won't. There's a difference, and he put that out.
Because I was reading he's one of his coaches in Yokohama, like they left as well, and they're going back, I think, to Brisbane. I think so. They're actually not coming here. That they will ask the question, like that he'd pop out and he'll ask the question to one of his coaches, what's the data on that player, what was the data on this player, and like if you're not on the ball, Mark, he won't accept that.
If he's asking for Moy as well, though, that could be a reason, somebody in the dressing room for him.
Yep.
That's what I said about Rogic as well. On the last podcast, maybe Rogic is
just going by Moy there, Mark, and you were asking about that. Like, if he comes, will he have to isolate if he's coming from China?
Yeah, I think so.
Like 10 days as well, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Going with the current guidelines, I looked it up earlier on. Somebody asked on the forum about it. I think he's still isolate. Yeah.
10 days, yeah. You know, like I'd like to see Moy, and who said it? Was it you, Mark, said that maybe he could be his captain?
I just flung that in there. Maybe he's he is that type of player. He is kind of captain material, isn't he?
He's a good age as well.
30, 80.
30, yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of work to be done, like and more like, but it's going to what Barry you're saying, like it's too slow. Like we should have more players in now than what we should have. Like 2 Bosman deals, Barry. Like we should have more players in by now, Barry, shouldn't we?
I think as Barry said earlier on as well, Paul. But I don't think this is no unique to this season. This has been we've had apples off this cart before, as they say. This has became a bit systemic. It seems to be the way of things at Parkhead the last few years. I don't think that's.
Do you think maybe and just told the club, look, just let me have a look at the players first in pre-season, and then
if you think about it, he comes in there. How that decision can't be made to he as a look and sees what he has available. Obviously because of the Eddie Howe thing collapsing, thank goodness. And Andy being a bit of a late arrival.
Got to get Eddie Howe to send you a birthday card, John.
I'll get Roy Keane. Get Roy Keane to send me one when you're at it.
Eddie Howe and Roy Keane as assistant would be John's dream team. When do you think maybe he's looking at that? Maybe assessing the squad first before he brings in signings?
You know, it's the same story. We talk about not throwing his backroom staff on him. He can't throw players on him either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you say, we just spoke about the young boys there. He's digging away to a training camp and stuff for that. Obviously, we look at the targets we need in the press and stuff for that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of players still at the Euros are coming back for the holidays, whatever it might be. You know,
and they all joined up now as well.
It could just be an assessment period for him to say, like, hold on a wee minute, let me see what I've got before we push forward.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the case, but you know, it's definitely feasible.
I agree with you, Welsh. I think he's come in, and even for his press conference when he first came in, that he's said that he's going to look at everything.
I look at everything the next couple of weeks, and then I make decisions. Then he says he knows. All right, there's positions that need urgency, so that's where Mark, I think they pushed through maybe the centre back. That was an area that he saw.
Maybe that's just not even in like the playing department, Paul. Maybe that's in the coaching, maybe it's in the sports science or whatever. But he said he's going to look at everything and then make his decision. I think he will bring in at least one or two of his own coaches a day. I've said it before. I think a manager should be at least allowed to pick his assistant, his number two, and then
especially like when we're hearing the rumours, Mark, that was one of the reasons Eddie Howdy brought down was the backroom staff. Do you know what I mean?
You think any manager would at least have the right to bring in and decide who's to sit beside John Kennedy?
Exactly. That's my seat there. I sit next to the manager. Gavin sits there with Gavin's.
That's Gavin's laptop seat.
That's Gavin. Yeah,
John's nose keeps the rain off it.
Not joking aside, the Kennedy, the fans sees a role for him there, and it's beneficial to Yannis. Then
you can't
so be it.
That, Brian. You can't. I've said that as well. We've all got our opinions on these folk and that, and Kennedy never covered himself in any whatever.
Glory.
Aye, when he got the chance to be his own man at the end of the season. But if fans sees him, if people seem to rate him as a coach, nobody seems to have a bad word to say about him apart from Celtic fans. We know Rodgers rated him. So if fans see something in Kennedy and decides to keep him on, you've got to kind of just go with that, I think, as well.
That's it, Mark. Like, some coaches just aren't good managers. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, you have, as it's Mike Phelan there, like, great assistant manager for Alex Ferguson, but he failed in at Huddersfield. Was it Huddersfield he was manager?
There's plenty coaches that couldn't make a step up and they're better on the training field, just dealing with players and actually managing them as such. There's dozens of them over the years like that. And as I said, if Kennedy's got something that Ange sees in him that he can work with, we've got to kind of respect his decision. Because we've said all along we've got to back him. So if we decide to keep Kennedy on in any kind of role, we have really got to back him.
That's it, like, because he said it, Mark, if he thinks he's good enough, you're good enough, like, you know, that what you said, like, we'll have to back him, like, but I think a lot of fans, and including ourselves too, like, still Kennedy didn't do himself in glory either last season when he should have dropped players who should have been dropped. Do you know?
But if he's given a coaching plan off Ange and he implements it the way Ange wants and he gets through to the players,
that, Brian,
it's Ange's decision.
These coaches and that, they only deal with the managers.
But yeah, that's what we were saying, Mark, as well. Like you could see there was a disconnect between Kennedy and Lennon on this. Everyone saw that on the sidelines. Do you know what I mean?
When you look again, you can see it.
That was going right through to the training sessions and everything. Like, they couldn't be.
Lennon comes out during the other week when he was throwing everybody under the bus apart from himself and blamed I couldn't get my coaches in. There was a wedge between Lennon and Kennedy that kind of came across in what was going on in the dugout last year. But
I was defending Neil Lennon and my nose was bleeding last year, and I still think some of the abuse he took was well out of order. But he's not done himself any favours with some of his rants in the last wee while.
I mean, you know yourself, John, I was never Lennon's biggest fan.
Yep.
I would never take it to that kind of level. You know what I mean? The way some people were carrying on about it. He's still the Celtic manager.
Too far.
Whether you like him or you don't, you still that wee bit you still backs him because you're a Celtic manager.
That's right.
Everything else he's done for the club as a player and everything, you can't fault him for that. So a lot of it was unwarranted and the personal stuff in that. I don't really buy into that.
He'd be better. He'd be better just buttoning it in the last wee while, right enough with some of the stuff that he's been coming out with. Yeah.
Then he's not covered himself in any glory with stuff.
Nah. No.
Talk about it in podcasts. You weren't the owner of them or that about the stuff
Yep.
with Lee Griffiths. Why just pick out Lee Griffiths? We all seen that. Why no pick out Christie? Why no?
Well, we said that, Mark. Come out and name the players that you said were going to leave at the start of the season. Name those players. Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough, Gaffer's game or whatever it is.
Just proves his ego.
That was all it was. Instead of coming out, explain now what was going on then after the Ferrer and Gaffer's game and telling having your wee dig about players no want to be there. Don't just come out of a pop at Lee Griffiths, who we all know. We knew everything that was going on with Lee Griffiths all the year. But what happened with the rest of these players that didn't want to be here? Lennon didn't want to take it up for anything.
Come on, tell us why David Conn wasn't playing since he signed. Why Zorro was dropped and Brown was keep playing. That kind of crap, Mark. That the fans saw things that shouldn't have been done last season, and they were constantly doing it. Like, you know what I mean?
Instead of just singling out Lee Griffiths, as I said, it's well documented. He wasn't fit when he turned up, and then this happened, that happened. Why not tell us about the other stuff that we don't know about? And look at it, maybe even come out of that a bit better. If he came out and said, I wanted the players today, this, and guys like Ryan Christie, Edward, this one, Ayer even, whatever, Julian, they weren't interested. They were pushing to move the club, and the club, but maybe no offers come in that suited the club. Back again, which again is down to the player and their agent to get these moves that the players are looking for.
Do we know how many season tickets have been sold yet? Was anybody getting any kind of inkling of how many were sold?
I think they've
sold out.
They've sold
45 or 48 or something.
Is it 40,000? Is it something like that? Is it?
We're back up at the 50.
I mean that's the protest.
Could well be. I'm pretty sure it's up there.
The protests are
anyway.
Any protests are just a waste of good shoe leather, then, aren't they? Because they've got the cash and that's it. Eh? Job done, mission accomplished.
But the club won't take notice of this protest anyway.
Say again. Sorry, Welshy.
But Barry.
Is it Barry?
Michael. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. You know, the board are not going to give a monkeys about
exactly. They won't take the season tickets are sold, Barry. Yeah, exactly.
They've got their 50,000 season tickets, and they've got the merchandise for the new strips. Everyone's going to buy them. You know, they've got what they wanted. They've got their money. That's
right. They'll just shut.
We're the customers.
They'll just shut the double glazing windows if it gets too loud. And
it'll get loud.
That's it. You know, there'll not be one bit interested. As now they've got the money.
We saw the effects what these things were going like these sack letting things were going out since November. Sure, they didn't sack letting until come February. So the board won't take notice of this protest that's happening next week unless Dominic McCoy himself does something like. But I really can't see the board themselves doing anything. You know.
Paul, would you expect Paul? Really? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what these demonstrations and that are going to achieve. Because the board and Dominic McKay, although we don't know their own Twitter and things like that, they know what's going on Twitter. They'll have even...
Oh, yes, exactly. They have their own people there. Yeah, exactly.
They'll have some wee weird Twitter account that just follows kind of thing to keep up with what's getting on social media with Celtic and things like that. You'll be getting memos every day for the PR department and JP Taylor and people like that. But it's not going to change anything.
No.
I really don't understand what these kind of demonstrations are hoping to achieve. And then they come out with the stuff about, we'll review things in 6 months and see if they plan to talk, that about restructuring and if they've gone ahead the way we want them to be and things like that. It's just a lot of nonsense in my opinion. It really is.
Especially like it's a new era. There's more thing like see if things change before you do these protest, maybe, Mark, no?
That's common sense for me.
Yeah.
Get a new CEO, right? They want to rid of Peter Lowell, he's away. They want to rid of Lennon, he's away. Right? Other people, right? Guys like Bankier, even Dermot Desmond, people want him away, but that's a bit. But they want to rid of Lennon.
But what is his role? Biker.
Oh, he's just the chairman. I couldn't honestly tell you what that involves with a football club, Paul. Depends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a PLC as such. I mean, it used to be the chairman who had the final say on everything when it was just a wee company. But when you've got a chairman and a CEO's doing day-to-day running. I don't honestly. I couldn't even.
So, what is the demonstration? Was it something at Parkhead then? Is this imminent? Is it the next couple of days or something, or is it
friendly against? Is it Preston?
Right.
Preston, yeah, the first home game, yeah. Preston is when they're coming back up.
Send you emails of the pictures of it and that, JP.
Right, aye.
They couldn't even they couldn't even spell Big Angie's name right. Twice they spelled his name wrong in it. But it's basically the board's not doing what we want them. It's just ego trips. I've said that 100 times, man. All these supporters groups, and I don't mean the Green Brigade and that, because nobody actually knows who they are. Do you get what I mean? All the rest of this, to me, it's all kind of supporters groups. For me, it's always a kind of ego trip. That behind something behind it, driving it to get this person or these two people in the forefront. And I thought it was going to be that David Lowe, but he took a step back the other day, and I don't know.
That's a strange one, Mark. I
think when this talk about demonstrations and all that came out, David Lowe thought to himself, wait a minute, I'm taking a step back for this. He's a respectable guy. He's no one to get involved in daft banner waving, sack the board kind of ideas and that. It's just to me, it's just they've spat the dummy out because they don't get their own way. I would love to get somebody on, say like that, Jeanette Findlay or somebody like that. I would love to get her on the podcast and just no hassle or anything, but just actually ask her questions about what. Because
that would be, I think that'd be really interesting. I mean, I take it she's involved. See somebody say to you, somebody was able to come on and tell us, here's how the club's structured just now. This is the problem, and this is the solution. You know, if you could hear that defined, to say what's there at the moment, why is that? What's a problem, and why is that a problem, and what you're proposing, how why is that a solution? It would be really interesting to hear that.
Well, basically, Celtic Trust aim is to get as much shares as they can in their name to get some kind of representation on the board and things like that. But I agree with an extent. I've been through it before as well. But once you do that, the people that go on the board are still covered with the same rules. You'll know this, John.
That's right.
With board
confidentiality, yeah.
Fiduciary, for whatever it is you call it, fiduciary rules and things like that. So it's not as if they're just going in there and can say something and come back on the internet and tell you everything that's been said in a board meeting. And again, the fans think that you get into these board meetings and you sit and talk about, but if we sell him for 20 million, we could buy him for 10. That's not what board meetings are about. It's probably more than tears sitting in them. But
I don't even know what kind of percentage of shares that they're talking about, and I don't know how a football club that differs from a business. Or I mean, if you own 5% of shares or whatever, you as well with it. I mean, you don't have any power, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Enough shares, like what is it they call it? Like proxy.
Their shares, yeah. Proxy in your name.
You can give them the right to vote at the AGM in your name,
right?
And things like that. And that is their ultimate aim, is to get somebody, a fan representative on the board. But I've seen again, see everything like that, for me it always comes down to egos. Do you get
but what does that achieve? What does that achieve when you get a fans representative on the board?
I think the ultimate aim, obviously it's not going to happen, would be the German model, wouldn't it? And I think people are maybe getting hung up on that. I don't know enough about the Celtic Trust to make a comment on it, to be honest with you. I don't know anybody in it. I don't know the whole ins and outs yet. But, you know, if we're talking about fan control, if you look at obviously you look at the fan groups like the Green Brigade, North Club, Boys, all these things. Ultimately, it's to them, in my opinion, it's to get what they've got in Germany.
that 50+1 rule into that's what they.
Yeah, I mean I don't think it'll ever happen in Scotland, but ultimately that'd be the main aim to.
Would they hold 50? To hold 51% of shares?
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's the ideological situation.
Fans own fit. See, like Dermot Desmond could own 49, but the fans are. Was it the members into like Barcelona and Real Madrid call it as well? It's like members, but they'll own like the majority.
Mm-hmm.
It can work. It really can work, but it'll never happen over here. It just.
No, it won't happen here.
As I said, see if the Celtic Trust or whoever they get this amount, who's going to be the person to get and sit in board meetings?
I mean, the next question is.
Done it at Rangers with that. Who's that Graham guy? Him that can't talk right. Mind to get put on the board for a day and get kicked off because of racist tweets and things like that. And son's a stroof thing and all that. I mean, that's it.
On a table with Lana Wolf.
But to me, it's that. See, like even that Club 1872, the thing the Rangers use. This is to me, but that's the kind of thing, that vibe I'm getting off of this kind of thing. It's no something I would really. It's up to you people what they do with their money, because you need to. I think it's a £10 month subscription or something for the Celtic Trust and things like that. It's up to you what you do with your money, but I always just think supporters groups, when it comes to things, it's all down to personal egos. Everybody just ends up falling out and arguing over things.
On a positive note, I'm fairly looking forward to actually seeing how we set up under Angie, who we bring in, as Barry said there. A lot of interesting names. Hickey, McCann, Moy, a lot of interesting names getting bandied about. It'll be interesting to see who we bring in, and it'll be interesting to see how we set up under Angie as well, just to see
because that's it. Like
the football we play.
I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait.
We need to exciting names.
I'm the same, Welshy. Absolutely buzzing to get in.
You know, because like Barry, you were saying that like in weeks ago, like Celtic should be buying up the best talent there is available in Scotland. You know, and that's what you said there. Like, why aren't we going? Why are we waiting for someone else to like keep us informed there? Or we say Arsenal have made a $1 million there for Ali McCann there. Are you going to top that? Make your point. You just go in and table your bid and see what they come back to you about.
Well, if that's the kind of money you're talking about, £1 million for McCann, we shouldn't be asked to be kept informed. We should just get in, seal the deal and get it done.
Get it done, get it done, get the deal done, like. Same with Naismith's another one, like, you know, I don't think we're going to get Ferguson anyway. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, you know,
see McCarthy's name getting bandied about as well. That comes up every close season, you know, doesn't it?
It does, but I've said to Paul the other day when it first came out, spoke to McCarthy back in January. But I thought it was today we moving in January to come in midfield on a loan for 6 months, whatever. But it seems to me that they have spoke to him. It was today we coming in during the summer, but I don't know. I used to know somebody close to James, and he kind of kept us up to date with stuff like that, and I've not heard really anything for them that is going to happen this summer. Again, it comes up every window, not just every summer.
He was John McGinn, Mark 1. He should have been there the first time.
He took some pelters in that when he was still at Arches, and because he chose to play for the Republic. And that was one of the reasons that he wanted to.
I can't remember how much Celtic. I think it was £1.5 million we were linked with for, and Mowbray said was it Mowbray at the time says he wasn't in the finished article. You know,
probably would have been about Mowbray's time.
I think it was Mowbray said he's not the finished article. You know, whereas it was as plain as the.
It was ideal, isn't it? Just like Lewis Ferguson isn't the finished article, but bring him to Celtic and under Ange and he'll become the finished article.
I tell you, he's got a bit of dig. You need to get a bit of dig. You need a bit of dig for somewhere.
Do you think that deal will happen, Mark? Do you think I can't see Ferguson this year anyway? I don't think.
I think I'm more chance I'm going to England.
But
I would like to think that Celtic will be fighting tooth and nail and gain. Do you know what I mean? Because the transfer fee and that'll just be what it's going to be. There'll maybe be a bit extra because it's like if you're selling to a league rival, somebody a rival in your league, you can ask for a wee bit extra. That's how they work that down in England and that as well. But if somebody in England bids 2 million for him, 3 million, Celtic should get him for 3, just a wee bit extra, and trying to blow them out of the water with wages because he's going to. That's the kind of next John McGinn for me now in Scotland.
Yep.
That
Mhm.
I think he has that potential. I think he definitely has that potential. Yep.
Lewis Ferguson is going to be a totally amazing quality player in years to come, and it'll be a shame if Celtic miss out on him.
Are we expecting more signs before the Michelin game, lads, you think? Barry or anyone? Barry?
Oh, I'd like to think we'd have at least 2, personally. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. But
Would you like to bring in a striker before then, Barry?
I think we've got more pressing matters. Defence is without doubt the most important one. But I mean, like I say, I've said it all along. For me, it's a no-brainer to go and get Kevin Nisbet. I've really liked that guy for a long, long time, and we've been obviously linked with him more recently. For me, you would go out and get him. He's only going to add value to your squad. He's going to really deliver. But like I say, for me, 2 or 3 in before the end of before the Michelin game. That would be my ideal scenario.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see kind of more reinforcements into the back line before that game, because definitely we're way light in that back line. Like, and that's the only area at the moment I think we should kind of concentrate on. Lads, anything else before we go off yourselves? You there, lads? Anything else?
Oh, Paul, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good to go and hear everybody's thoughts. As I say, I've been a wee bit remote for it. I've no. Principally, my thinking was for I spoke to yourself.
Caravan Club, Paul.
Aye.
You watched that episode in Between Us, bought a caravan.
Yeah, down the tall and young fella coming in. You climb your fifth upstairs.
Principally, you're just sitting thinking, I've not seen a lot of action. I said, where's the recruitment man? The want-aways are still there. There's ready to come in and all right, the Eddie Howe saga. I'm thinking, there's not really much to get other than speculation, but speculation, we're not really getting really concrete, have we, in terms of.
We've improved in the manager.
Oh, 100%. Oh, I tell you, his biggest tick in the box is he's no Eddie Howe, as I said it.
I think he could be a big surprise to everyone.
I think he could be right, and that's as I say. I'm really looking forward to getting back in the stadium and hopefully putting the last season behind us, back in the stadium and seeing the hoops again and see how we set up, see who the new faces we bring in, get anybody that doesn't want to be there down the road, and see how we set up and play some attacking football and.
Back to winning ways, getting that
100% back,
getting the league where it belongs.
100%. Yeah, put them back in their box again and get the get the league flag back where it should be.
Last question to all of you lads: is it coming home? The Euros, as they claimed.
You're Italian.
Coming home to Italy, yeah.
I tell you, Paul, I said before even started, I would pick Germany or Italy win it, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
For no other reason that they're always thereabouts. Even what I catch of the Euros and World Cups, the Germans or Italians are always there or thereabouts. So.
I mean, you look at there, like Chiellini's 37, and he's still celebrating. When I saw him about 10 years ago, how he defends. I mean, he's some professional into that Chiellini, isn't he? Some player like 37, and he's playing at the top level still, like at 37 years of age. Juventus, playing in the Euros for Italy, that's like the Italians. They always kept themselves fit, didn't they? The Italians.
It's getting a bit scary with England when they're too close for comfort, eh?
Without doubt.
Oh, I can't see them winning it. I really can't. They'll be in the final. They'll be in the final. I don't doubt that, but no, I can't see them winning it.
I thought they'd have been out last week, but I sat and watched the first.
But that's a poor German team, though. So we have to say, that's.
Well, what about Belgium that everybody else was tipping? Or what a team they are, how they're going to romp it and that? And
There was actually an interesting thing there, actually, that Martinez is going to stay on, and all his backroom staff is going to stay on with him. So I think we can rule out Sean Maloney coming to Celtic. That there was rumours that Peter Lord talked to Mark, weren't there?
Well, on Twitter, I saw it on a headline, a massive blow to Celtic backroom plans.
Mm-hmm.
Clicked on it, and that's what it was. So I
Yeah,
don't know how that's a massive blow to Celtic's backroom plans, because
I was suspecting that.
John Maloney was not. I mean, really, was even on the forum we were talking about Martin O'Neill becoming director of football and that, and Sean Maloney's even less qualified for that kind of role than Martin O'Neill is. There was no way Sean Maloney would be Celtic.
See, that's it. Like people like are linking like you're managing a team from a day-to-day basis. Like it's totally different to running a club whole right out, Mark. From like you're watching every single department daily every day. Do you know what I mean? And you're making changes. Like it's totally different to managing a football team. Like
But I mean, see, even to that, for me, see, being working at international level, it's a kind of part-time job.
exactly.
You're not working with players day in and day out. And all Sean Maloney was a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll give him a director of football job, put him in charge of our scouting and our sports science and everything. That's just.
Yeah, but Sean Maloney had a tablet, not a laptop. Could be more. We could get more advanced. Michael, do you want to come in and say something there before we go?
I just want to say thanks to everybody that's donated to the Just Giving page for the NHS. We've raised up to, we've raised £557 plus another £116 in gift aid. So, like I say, just under £700 or something just now. And like I say, we've still got 2 weeks to keep raising money. And like I say, it's been a good start, but like I say, I think we've got a lot more to come.
Perfect, Barry.
No, just another enjoyable podcast. It's good to hear from Sean and Welshy again after a wee while. So good to get involved. Another good podcast. I've enjoyed it.
Welshy yourself. Welshy there.
Get the rebs on. I don't know, when he collapsed.
Is he there? No.
I don't think he's.
So that's it, lads. That's
Right,
it.
guys. Thanks very much. Good night and God bless.
Cheers. As you know, lads, this show was sponsored by Skpe, grooming for men. The Euros are all about bragging rights and showing pride in your country squad. With the help of today's sponsors, Manscaped, you'll definitely be showing pride in your squad. With Manscaped, you can now trim your personal pitch without the fear of whacking your bollocks. Unlock that confidence and join the movement with this exclusive offer. 20% of free world shipping with our code Celtic Rumours TV at manscaped.com. Manscaped is changing the approach of grooming with performance package of 3.0, travel kits and formulations to help you upgrade the grooming game. The Lawnmower 3.0 is the John Terry of doom the defence. Because of the third generation trimmer features cutting edge ceramic blade and reduced grooming accidents thanks to the advanced safes.
The John Terry. Did you say the John Terry?
John Terry, yeah.
It's got to run off your wife. Your wife, yeah. Oh.
There's even a waterproof technology and LED lights on the groom in the shower. We all know the terrible cleanup that can be. If you've been held back by your nose hairs, we can part the solution for you. The Weed Whacker, the ears and nose trimmer. The trimmer has the same Manscaped priority skincare technology, which helps you due to nicks, snags and tugs that Mickey's out cost that he can't play a football match in 2 weeks' time. 79% of our partners polled admitted that the long nose hair is a major turn off. Imagine your significant and other started growing some nasty nose hairs. Pretty sure you wouldn't be taken to a keen either. Don't forget about the bundle comes with a crop save, ball deodorant, anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, crop reviver, ball toner, a toner for your testicles, and unfused with Advert to give you that little tickle. You're going to have to want to get to join the ball sack beauty contest and even using the crop. Check out our website for some cool products, including our clone and foot duster. Foot deodorant in case you need to get those sticky feet cleaned up before you put them into your ball pack. Get 20% off Manscaped, proud sponsor of Celtic Rumours TV with the Big Boys Hangouts. Not only will your wife thank you for this, But your balls will thank you, fish, as well. Lads, that's my show for tonight. Mark will now close the show.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, John, Mikey, and Barry, Welshy for joining us. Everybody joined us in live chat as well. Thanks very much. We hope you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And remember to smash the like button. And remember to get Mikey's charity page shared on your social medias. Thanks very much, lads. Good night and God bless.
Christ, that all of them gone, is it? They're still there.